Citizens, how's your spirit? Mine, goofy. I don't know. It's been a ridiculous day of ups and downs, and I figure that's probably the best word that I can come up with is goofy. I'm feeling a little bit off today. I've been having some issues with the fibro and my tummy, but overall, I'm just kind of here. Hey, Miss B Finesse, so glad to see you. I am going to bring you up sooner than later, ma'am. I'm going to do a couple of quick housekeeping things and then we'll get started. If you don't have some questions already prepared, I do have some prepared in the banners. But yeah, I'm so glad I saw your video this afternoon. I'm sorry, your live this afternoon, and I thought, well, one of the things that I try to make sure I do. Hey, Lady C, so glad that you could stop in. Um, One of the things that I want this channel to be about is how I live every day with my mental illness. I don't survive, I thrive. It's a purposeful effort, a conscious choice that I have to make every day. And I really think that if people were to be more realistic and think about how someone like me lives every day, and I manage to do as little harm as possible to other people, that anyone can do the same thing. Um, Not a problem, Miss B Finesse. What I'll do is I'll drop the link, and then once you are ready, once the link is there, you just go ahead and put a thumbs up and let me know. Hey, Daniel, so glad to see a new name and face in the chat. I hope that you liked and subscribe. Please make sure that you become a citizen too. It's important. You know, this message isn't just for young ladies, even though I also would say that this is Women's Work Wednesday. This bit of wellness today is really just about trying to live a different way. And so, as you can see, the banner says very clearly, fuck your feelings, I'm the crazy one. If I can move in this world without doing harm to people and not, excuse me, not using my disability or my mental health as an excuse, then so can regular folks, so to speak. And I'm going to use regular or normal a lot here. I know it's outside of the okay, but hey, you know, this is our space. And so if anybody wants to dox me for saying that I'm not normal, then hey, that's on them. Oh, I apologize, Daniel. Thank you so much for being a citizen already. Now make sure you share with your friends and family so they can be citizens too. I got one for you no matter what. Um, so let's do a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Starting right now, and I mean officially, right as I get my behind back over here to my Discord server, I am for the first time going to be streaming into my Discord. Uh, I want to make sure that we reach as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. And I think that the younger folks that I'm actually trying to get to, I'm not going to find them on YouTube in quite that same way, right? Most of the folks who follow me over here are of my age group. And I don't mind that. I think it's important because they've got children in the age group that I'm actually trying to reach, right? So I will reach you all here on YouTube, and then hopefully you will take that and share it with your folks, and then they'll get it and be like, oh, hey, but she's also on Discord, and then we can share that with them over there, right? That's the goal. So I just need to get this big enough to pull up over there. I'm going to share my screen. It's that one. I'm doing big things, y'all. I'm doing big things, y'all. Be so proud of your girl. If I can do it, y'all can do it. And we can turn this into a community big enough to change the things that are happening um, up in the higher levels, right? So, okay. So, let me go back over here. Who did I miss in the comments? No such thing as normal. You're absolutely right, Miss B Finesse. Only what we allow them to put on us as normal. We move our own way, we do our own thing, and that's what really matters, right? If you can accept who you are and love yourself, move on that. That's the most important thing. Hey, blind guy, his wife, their life. Yep, I'm trying to do the big grown up things. I got my Discord up, Twitch, YouTube. Still working on Facebook, but something about knowing that my family can much more easily access that thing is a bit of an issue for me. Um, and then Thank you. I'm trying to do, the best that I can. It's just me, the fellas, and my client help me out from time to time. But a lot of getting this done is just one little crazy girl getting up and doing her best to get the message out there in as many ways as possible. So you can catch me on Discord, and my Discord I'm going to put in the chat. I am on Twitch as JP the Aspiring Matriarch. I am on YouTube, obviously, in that way. And then soon I will be starting a gaming channel called JP the Gaming Matriarch. I haven't played video games, y'all, consistently in like 25 years, but I'm here a lot and I need to find some other things to do. And again, like I said, it's a way to communicate or connect with some of the younger folks in a different way, right? So. And then outside of that, I would just like to go ahead and put out this little thank you to Darius Ritchie, Trash Can Waves. I think that I may be missing somebody. It might have been Patrice. Thank you to everyone who gave donations during the last during the last live stream. Very small channel, and you don't get monetized until 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, and then there's another step to be able to get the super chats. So everything that you all provide donates matters. I put it towards doing these things, being able to get the Discord up, using the Discord Nitro, which, by the way, at Miss B Finesse, the Discord Nitro came to me for being a YouTube Premium subscriber. I got 3 months free. Also, in yesterday's T-Mobile Tuesday, there was a free 3 months of Discord Nitro. So it's just something that you might want to look into. Excuse me. Uh, uh, I believe that might be everything as far as housekeeping. Guys, some of you send me emails. I greatly appreciate it. Please forgive me if I don't get back to you as soon as you think that I should. I do try to check them all and respond within 24 hours, but that is on a particular schedule. I do it once in the early morning hours, once in the afternoon, and then once before bed. So I try to get as many of them as I can. If you really want to get in touch with me sooner than later or have me see it and respond, Twitter, Discord, those things where I can live time respond to you is probably the best way to go. I appreciate everybody putting their theme songs down in the chats, comments, and whatnot. Some of them are so fantastic. I'm putting together you all's theme song playlists as we go. Adrian, thank you so much for dropping in. I'm so glad to see you. I saw your theme song today. Excuse me. We are all out here in these YouTube streets. I'm so glad to see everybody. If you all can open up a second tab, Rush Ribbons is streaming live right now as well. She's talking about, I think, what it is that men are looking for, or and their pet peeves in a relationship. They've already discussed getting terrible gifts like ties and socks and underwear. I give out ties, socks, and underwear. I tend just to do it at Christmas and put them in the stocking, a little something extra. That's all. Like I said, that even needs should be given as gifts sometimes, just so that you're reminded that even your needs being met is a blessing, is a gift, and something that some of us don't have, right? Um, I'm so glad to see everyone talking, speaking to one another. Blind guy, his wife, they're live. Corey, I just knew I was going to hear you singing Shut Up by the end of the chat today, or the stream today. We just kept going over and over. But y'all have so many wonderful things to say. So how could we not, right? Well, that's a good question, Miss Adrienne Nash. What did y'all cook today? I made some green chili chicken soup. Everybody over here is feeling a bit under the weather, and so a quick 30-minute soup was the way to go. We had some leftover chicken from barbecuing this weekend and a bottle of green tomatillo salsa, and bam, 30 minutes, we got dinner. If y'all want me to start doing those types of things, let me know. Like I said, I am a chef by trade. My educational background includes early childhood education and culinary arts and volunteer management. So I'm a Renaissance Jane, I suppose, but my niche is really just being there for my people and doing better, leading by example, and trying to do that in everything that I do. So, hey, Patrice, so glad to see you this evening. I hope you all are having a wonderful night. And in case I didn't get to ask, please, y'all, how's your spirit? Y'all let me know how you're doing. I told y'all, mine's a little bit goofy. I'm feeling a little bit wacky today, a little out of sorts. And so I just try to take that in stride. I did a lot of resting. I was supposed to stream on Tuesday, but I wasn't feeling up to it. So looks like for now, my schedule is going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. Because I need to make sure that we get some work done on Wednesdays. I think we all probably feel that way, right? So again, like I said, Miss B Finesse, her topic earlier today was mental health. And she had a video up of Lil Wayne, and what he was going through and how he got to the point, and explaining how he had gotten there. I could teach you how to put your foot in it, Miss Adrian Nash, and make sure he comes home. But now you listen. Don't you be doing. Never mind. We'll say that for the consultations. How about that? Hey, Normal Free Zone, welcome to the stream. So glad to see you. If you guys don't know, I started out with doing disability advocacy just on Twitter. Like I said, I'm disabled, and for a while there, I was pretty much bedbound. But even folks in bed, disabled, we have a voice, we have an opinion, and we want to be heard. Oftentimes, we're pushed under the rug or pushed by the wayside. Ooh, mac and cheese sounds fantastic. And so Normal Free is one of my original citizens from or one of the original citizens from Twitter. Like I said, you guys aren't subscribers or followers to me. Each and every one of you is a citizen, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, which is to find some peace in this crazy, crazy world that we live in. I feel like the way that we do that is by being there for one another, by showing up in our community, by leading by example, and being the best version of ourselves that we can be at all times. Which brings us to this topic, because um, you can't move on emotion when you're living with a mental health issue. Excuse me. And we'll talk about it. My mental health issues are, excuse me, I have complex PTSD with dissociative identity disorder. And before I describe it, if anyone knows what those things are, uh, go ahead and put a one in the chat for me. I'm always willing to let someone else explain what it is that's going on with me, so I don't have to. It can be not, I won't say depressing, it can be stressing at times, right? And that's one of those things. And so if someone understands already, then I don't have to explain myself, and that means a lot. Um, So glad, Quita, for stopping by, and we'll be right here. I'm gonna answer as many questions I can about what it's like, because I think that having that honest discussion will help folks in moving in their own lives with people around them who may not fully answer, but who want to understand more than they actually do. You know, the dissociative part, yeah. So you've been in situations where you kind of got that standing outside of your body, watching things happen to you, feeling. And that's the other thing. I think until I talked to you about it, Normal Free, I didn't really understand what was happening to me, or that it was happening to someone else. I really thought that I was losing it, but I really thought that, it was just something really strange and wrong with my body. And so at first I was afraid to say anything to the doctors, or anyone else for that matter. Uh, and so that's part of it too, living with chronic illnesses. I feed all the strays. I take anybody in, Adrian, because at one point I was a stray too. But you're right. When it comes to the food, I do limit who I share my food with. As I told you once before, I went out on a date with a guy for lunch, and watching him eat that salad made me realize that we could not be in a relationship, because I'm a chef and you're gonna want me to cook for you, and I'm gonna have to watch your cud, and that is just unattractive. There is no one who wants to see that. So yeah, we were good friends for a while, but yeah, dating was definitely off the table. So let's see, where should we start? Let's do this. What is it like to live with mental illness? So, Normal Free, you said that you know what dissociative part of dissociative identity disorder is, but right, and you never really understood or know what they are. And funny enough, and you can say whether or not you did this too, I had to tell my doctor that I had dissociative identity disorder, i.e., I had to explain and say I disassociate from my body during high times of stress. Now, sometimes it's a little thing, like, say for instance, oh, I had an incident recently where there was, last year, there was a one of those little lizards that you see out here in the desert in the warmer states, that had gotten into the house, and he was in the sink. And in the sink, I looked down, and now I'm 5'7" at that time, 150 something, 60 pounds. I should be able to tackle a doggone lizard in the sink, no problem. But I couldn't. I could not move. I could yell. I could freak out. I could even make the phone call. But the idea of my body moving towards that lizard and trying to get it out of the sink, I couldn't do that. And inside of my body, there was this vibrating, and this panic was rising. It's a lizard, right? I even had the mindfulness to laugh at myself about it in the moment. But the truth is, I couldn't move. I was completely powerless over my body, all because of a lizard. Now you're going to think, really? Are you scared of lizards? Not at all. Not at all. The dissociative identity is a direct result of the complex PTSD. So, what is complex PTSD? And I am looking on healthline.com to give you an answer. Um, and what it says here is complex PTSD is becoming more widely recognized by doctors in recent years. It's the result from repeated trauma over months or years rather than from a single event. So, if we look at my life, how can I say, or how did we get to the point where they diagnosed it as complex PTSD and not just post traumatic stress disorder? A series of things happened rather quickly in my life. Right. So you too, Normal Free, have had to tell your doctors that this is what's happening to you. A lot of times that, as a woman, um, we aren't believed for certain things that we say, or when we tell doctors that this is what is happening to us. In my case, especially as a Black woman, saying that you have a pain that no one can pinpoint the cause of, or you have this thing going on in your head that no one can pinpoint the cause of, they tell you you're crazy in a different way and immediately attempt to put you on medication, versus trying to help you figure out these things and work through them. And so, also to be clear, the only medications that I take right now is cannabis. I use cannabis to medicate pretty much everything. When I have a flare in either my fibromyalgia or my mental health issues, I go to the doctor, and then I allow them to put me on a short dose of pharmaceuticals in the form of either Percocet or a benzo, depending on which of the illnesses that I'm dealing with. Having both a mental health disorder and a pain disorder, I cannot be on all of the medications that I would need, according to them, at the same time. It would kill me, quite literally. The drug interactions between the benzos and the Percocets would cause my heart rate to drop, and I could not be here. So I have to walk a very thin line and understand my life, what's happening to me, and all of my illnesses. And so you'll find that a lot of us get upset who have chronic illnesses when you go to the doctor because um, they went through one round of whatever classes in whichever field of study it was at that time. I live every day with these things, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no off button, there is no new class. So we want to be heard, and sometimes we're not. We're treated as though we're drug seeking or just don't know what's going on. And when in reality, we want to be able to be heard without having to fight through your biases and those types of things. But anyway, back to how I was diagnosed with complex post traumatic stress disorder. Um, the first event that was truly the catalyst would have been the death of my of the man that I was seeing at the time. I wouldn't call him a boyfriend or a partner. We had started dating in the summer of 2014. And then he was murdered in a home invasion in November of 2014. Excuse me. And when that happened, I did not take any time off from work. In fact, the day that the day after I was told, I went to work that next morning. I opened up the facility, and then I was absolutely clueless what to do with myself. My assistant manager had to come and tell me to go in my office and sit down, right? And then shortly after that, yes, Adrian, there are herbs, essential oils, and spices that do help. I add them into my daily routines. One thing that takes the place of pain medication is something called kratom, but it's not legal everywhere. Obviously, you know about CBD and cannabis. As a result of using medical marijuana for myself, I am also now a cannabis consultant for other folks, those who are new to medical marijuana and those who are just new to the recreational experience now that it's becoming legal in so many places. Thank you for that at Mrs. B Finesse, honey, but you might want to hold on or get a tissue because that's just the start, not the end. Um, so shortly after Sharif's death, I had an accident at work where I injured my back. And that would cause me to be diagnosed with fibromyalgia at the end of 2015, somewhere around 16. Because fibromyalgia is dormant in your body until two things happen: a physical trauma from which you do not heal, and a mental trauma from which you do not heal. I've defined those two things for you. So that's also the second of traumatic incidents that would happen. And we're talking about 2 years. In 2017, I would have to leave work for the first time due to my disability. So it's also the same time in age years as the time that my mother would have passed. And so there's that, and knowing and understanding that. Then we get to 2018. In 2018, my cousin Demario died during a traffic stop in Memphis, Tennessee. Immediately traumatizing, as I'm sure you all can guess. There are millions of people battling health issues. Yes. You will never know because it's an unseen illness. And until we tell someone that there's something going on, um, and even then, you don't understand it once you're told. So it doesn't look the way that most people think. Most people see me and don't know. People don't know that I have a mental health disorder. People don't know that I have a pain disorder. People don't know most things about that. Why? You don't need to know for the most part either. Hey, Unique View, so glad you could make it over. I know you were over there kicking it with Rush Ribbons. Did you get out all of your pet peeves about what you don't want is gifts from women? um, but so back to it. So let's see. We're up to the point now where we lost Demario. You can imagine that as someone who already suffers from depression, losing my cousin in that way, and then the things that were said about him, it was said that uh, he considered self deletion and told the officers as much. The things that came afterwards, the news media tearing him apart, watching his mother grieve, attempt to throw herself out into traffic, all of those things played their own part um, in my personal trauma. So by the end of 2018, actually September 2018, I was in the hospital because I too had considered self deletion. I spent 6 days there. You have to understand that when Demario passed, I was in a situation where I was in someone else's home. My godmother, she had raised me from the time that I was 3 months old, and she's always been in my life. Um, but the moment that the news media put out there that my cousin was a drug dealer and that he had a bunch of baby mamas and whatnot, she immediately shut down anything having to do with him. We couldn't talk about him anymore. I wasn't allowed to grieve in her presence. And so I wasn't allowed to grieve, basically. Her house was dark. She rarely opened the blinds or windows. There wasn't any joy in that space. And when you're dealing with depression, being in dark silence is probably the worst thing for you. And so, yeah, trying to figure out how to deal with all of those emotions, not being able to express them outwardly. I couldn't tell his mother was going through far worse pain than I was. So was his brother. My godmother didn't care. So she certainly wasn't going to want to hear how it affected me. And so you sat with that. I sat with that and sat with that. And then, my own fears as a Black mother came into play. The one fear that we all have as Black mothers is my baby could go out here and be minding his own business, just living his life, going to get some batteries for a breast pump and mismatched socks and never come home. All because of someone else's fear or feeling that their authority hadn't been respected. Hey, Shanita, so glad to see you here today. Um, Pull up a seat. Let us know how your spirit is. We're just talking about what it's like to live with mental health, how with mental health issues, how I got here, what I'm doing to get through it, and just trying to be truthful about some of these things. In a little bit, I'm going to drop a link. You can ask me any questions. I'm going to put the link down also for Miss B Finesse. This was originally her topic this afternoon, and I told her that I would love for her to come and have a conversation with me because there are things that I no longer think about because I've been living with mental health issues for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And that's its own thing, right? I didn't even know that, that it was a huge transition going from quote unquote normal to having mental health issues, having to navigate those waters, those boundaries. That in itself is a difficult thing. Um, okay, so after the loss of Sharif, the loss of Demario, after being in the hospital for myself in 2019, I realized that I was gonna, have to change my life. And so I decided to make a big change and pack up and move to Arizona. Yay! Shout out to Arizona, the desert. It's got its perks for someone with fibromyalgia, definitely. It makes it easier for me to get up and move. Like I said, when I was out east, I was bedbound for the most part. Um, I spent an easy 16 hours of my day in the bed, just unable to move. It was the pain was heavy, intense. It felt like dragging myself around everywhere. Here, I'm still in quite amount of pain, but it's not as heavy. I don't feel like I'm carrying the 330 pounds that I used to be. But my bones hurt. Um, because of the monsoons, the rain, it comes in waves, and so does the pain and trauma come in waves. How so unique view when you say it should be a high school requirement? The class itself in some form or therapy? Because here's the thing, I will say that I don't believe in traditional therapy out of the gate. You know, I believe that a lot of things that happened to me could have been avoided had I had a porch to sit on, a community elder to go and sit and say, hey, listen, this is how I'm dealing with these traumas in my life. But I didn't have that. And we're asking people to spend hundreds of dollars when all they really need is just to talk it through, just to sit down and have a conversation. Some people have find it hard to be introspective, but if asked questions, then they can delve into themselves. And that's pretty much what some of this shrinkery is, right? So that's what I am. That's why I'm willing to do life coaching for $30 because I want you to be able to come in and get some help. I'm making you pay so that I know that you're actually willing to, that if you're about something. But outside of that, it's just to give you, a chance to unpack your black, drop off all the things that you need to. Yes, unique view, death does hurt quite considerably. No, I don't think that I don't think that that's fair, Miss B Finesse, to teachers to have them to have to deal with children's mental health issues on top of everything else, including the pandemic itself, right? Excuse me. But so when I say that um, you can't move on emotion, okay? So living with mental health, I'm not in mental health issues. I can't move on emotion. If I allow my emotions to run my life, I run the risk of doing damage to everyone around me. I have to have a filter on my mind and my words all the time because I do not have control over what happens to my body. I have to be aware that the things that I am feeling in this moment are not coming from unique view or not coming from blind guy, his wife, their life, that they are coming from something inside of me in that moment, right? And how do I address it without doing harm? We all have issues. I was recently talking to a friend about a situation. I'm sorry, an ally about a situation. Y'all, I don't do friends, and I'll explain that. If you want me to, I'll explain it in this stream. Otherwise, I plan on doing it in a separate one. I don't do friends, I do allies. I was explaining to an ally earlier, just some of the things that I was going through and I was taking to heart in my way. And she reminded me, but that's my perspective on it, you know and we need to always be cognizant of that for one another. Just because I feel this thing that you hurt me and I see it in a certain way, doesn't mean that anything that you have to say is invalid or untrue. I can still be hurt by a thing even if you did not mean to hurt me, and you can have hurt me without meaning to. And we have to understand that and figure out how to communicate past it. And that is where we have a downfall as a people. But as someone with a mental health disorder, I can't run that risk. I have to make sure that everything that I say is as clear as possible. I have to make sure that I ingest your words and have figured out all of the possible ways that you really meant it and go for the one that I think hurts me the least, right? And I'll give you an example. You all have seen the video of my Fibro Life video where you see me crying in pain. In that moment, not only can I not move my body or do the things that I want to do, but in my head, every emotion that I have is spinning out of control. Every emotion, every identity from the dissociative identity disorder, and there are about 6, every one of them wants to be in front, all except for one. I have a little girl identity who is always present with an adult. But outside of that, just to be in front, to be heard, to be able to say, this is happening to us. Make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. That's what's happening in my head, in my body. Pain is radiating. It's like little explosions going off in every muscle of my body. all of these emotions are going around in my head, and you are standing there wanting me to understand that you got into an argument with somebody at work today. They hurt your feelings, and now you want to fight. Bruh. Seriously? But you can't see any of the things that are happening to me, right? You can't see the stuff that's happening to me in the moment. I can't see what's happening to you, but you've expressed something about your feelings. Fuck your feelings, man. I am in pain. My mind is going out of control. I'm losing everything. But right now, I got to figure out how to speak to you in a way so that you feel valued. You can't see me? Is there anyone else who can't see me, guys? Put a one in the chat if you can't see me. As far as I can see from my streams and the Discord, um, oh, well, that's why the Discord was doing that. There we go. Okay, how about now? Yay! All right, unique view. I'm so glad. I was worried for a moment there. Okay, Miss B Finesse, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link. Um, and then whenever you're ready, you go ahead and hop on. And when you're all set, I will pull you up, and we can start the conversation. Um, Okay. But so imagine, and some of you are parents or have been managers in a work environment or whatever the case may be. So you've been in situations where you've got a lot of things going on that you're already dealing with, and then you have an employee who comes to you and they say something that sounds really trivial, like so and so did such and such and it hurt me, or so and so called me out my name. Oh, but you're an adult. You can't deal with that, right? And that's one of those things. So, indeed, I'm sorry, Adrian. And when you have a mental health disorder and you tell people, they'll gaslight you. They will, the moment that you get into conversations that don't work for them, they'll gaslight you. Uh, and so that's the thing. Knowing and understanding that and pointing it out the moment that they do something for to or that in some way you feel may be doing one of those things. Okay. Um, so Miss B Finesse, you just give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready. And then, like I said, if you don't have any questions ready, I do have some with banners anytime. Okay. So, like, guys, I just wanted us to be able to have a conversation. I'm someone who lives with mental health disorders, and so I figure why not be honest. I can tell you my truth. That's the whole point of me starting this channel. And if it helps you to deal in a more compassionate way with the people in your lives, then the better for it, right? That's the end goal. It's not really about me. Sharing my story is just so you have a jumping off point, a way to move forward, a way to have the conversation. You know, JP says that she deals with this. How is it for you? How can we do something different? Also, to that end, you guys, starting, I think, tomorrow, I am going to stream a show called Undone. It's on Amazon Prime, but it is a show that deals with mental health disorder. And it's her experiences as she's first starting out. It's an animated show. I'm going to stream it probably through Discord. But it's just an opportunity for us to have the conversation again. And it'll just be mostly for the live chat part of the streaming. Anybody can catch it on Amazon at any time. So here we go. Hey, Miss B Finesse, how are you?
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How's your spirit? How's that baby?
She's doing really good. She's doing really good. She's in there with her sister now, so she's winding down. But yeah, I was excited. I wanted to make sure I had the time and made that space to come on and have this conversation with you and just kind of engage with everybody so we can have kind of bring what we had earlier to this little night session and try to, you know,
Yes.
get the conversations out and kind of have a discussion. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, I can't remember where I left off. Was there anything from earlier today that you thought about, or anything that any questions that you might have?
Um, I thought it was really interesting and neat how we delved into different situations and circumstances. I think having these conversations puts a bigger light and a bigger view on the spectrum of mental disorder. How it can be just something as small as I'm having a bad day, and you can work yourself, I guess you could say, back into positivity, and then the gamut of extreme isolation, you feeling that you want to hurt yourself or take your life and things of that measure. And then how we deal with that as a community, starting off on a level of maybe peer to peer, how kids can talk to each other, and then how we engage peer to adult or adult to adult. Triggers, we talked about that. What are the trigger words? What are trigger ideals and feelings? We all need to know that. And then bringing it all back around, how we as a community collectively need to look out, per se, for each other and the kids in the community, because they are the ones that are going to be controlling this nation and things going forward. So we need to make sure, not just looking at mental health with adults, but we do need to focus on this generation coming up, and just give them the tools, and that's having these conversations. So I think that's really awesome. I didn't even really think about that. Like my daughter, she's teaching me Discord, her and my son like gaming, so they know all that stuff. But the fact that you already are projecting to say, you know what, kind of just like I was saying earlier, like kind of the Trojan horse. I'm not just going to talk to people my age or millennials or above. No, I need to get down to the level of the ones that really need it. So I really love the fact that you are hitting Discord and Twitch, because that's where they're all at. So I'm ready to just kind of watch this journey with you, and whatever I can do to kind of pivot in, I'm excited to learn too, because that is actually very brilliant to hit it there, because nobody, and on our age level, millennial going up, nobody's thinking about that. They're just thinking about, let me just get on YouTube or Facebook, and that's not where the kids are at.
Exactly. And
They're on TikTok. They're on they're on Twitch. They're on Discord, and we don't know about that because we're not trying to learn it. So you got to step
exactly.
outside the box.
But if we can all get together, then that's the thing. We can learn
Mhm.
what we all know and understand, and then use that community to network in a way that works for all of us. Y'all,
Yeah.
it say I got 3 people in my Discord. Haha. Okay, anyway, back to this. Um,
Ooh.
so one of the things that you touched on just now, and I think is truly important, and why I really did start this. If you look at all of my social media, I speak a lot about Demario and his children because, as I said, my cousin's youngest. Hi, Big Max. Thank you for stopping in from Twitch. We are discussing what it's like to live with mental health illness in the Black community, and using myself as the case study. One of the things that I was saying, Miss B Finesse, is that Demario. Uh, Demario had his birthday one day. The next day, his son was born, and then the next day, he passed. And so that means that his son is almost guaranteed to grow up with a certain level of mental health issues. And if he doesn't grow up with them, at some point, he's going to run head first, red pill
Mhm.
style, into the awareness that this is what happened to his father, and these are the people who didn't give him that information. And that's going to set him on a mental health collision course. And so I think that this is one of the things that's necessary. We start having conversations about them. How do we make sure that we go back for them and talk to them in a way to keep them from having so much trauma? As a community, Black folks haven't dealt with our trauma. I say it's been tattooed on our souls or our spirit for the last 400 years. That's not an untruth.
Mhm.
And we're told just to get over it, but we need to have healing conversations about it first. We need to talk
Mhm.
about how it affects us all. And it does. I don't know anyone who hasn't had their militant moment, so to speak. I guess your Black pill moment, when you
Mhm.
realize that being Black is something different. It comes with a certain set of burdens and privileges
Mhm.
that aren't often addressed. So yeah, that's why I got started. That's why I shared. That's why over on Twitter, when I first started talking about disability, I just tried to make it as human as possible. It's about if I can make that connection with you that, yeah, I know I'm going through it too. I've been through the same things, but I don't move in certain ways. Just because I have a mental health disorder does not mean that I have carte blanche to act a fool on you like that Karen in the Victoria's Secret,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and
And
most
going back to
things.
what you said too, JP. I didn't want to lose that thought because you went on it and then you went to something else.
Yeah.
They're very interesting. It's called cognitive dissonance, and that's what the Black culture and the Black community deals with. It's a way and a mindset that we have that we know what we've been through. We see it, but we just it's like a kind of ideal where
Oh,
live this facade. I'm going to say I'm living the American dream. I have this. I don't really care about anybody else except me and mine. And that's that mentality that was not perpetuated going back, starting in the early 1900s into the 50s. It was community. So we're trying to
yes.
build that. So
And that's my goal. And when I was a kid, we had folks in the family who were what's the word, crazy, and
cool.
but you took care of them, and that's one of the things that we aren't doing. We're not taking care of our people, no matter how they show up in the family or the community. We're not taking care of our people. We're mistreating them. We're pointing them out as some type of bad example instead of, this is just that one family member who may have gotten hurt the most or gotten lost by the wayside. I don't blame anybody, including myself, for my mental health issues. I It's a byproduct of being a tribe of one. I'll say that. Having to step out in life and not having a community around me did, in some ways, make it more possible for these things to be my outcome. But they don't have to define me just because they are a part of me.
No,
You know,
and you'll stay in a dead place. I mean, anybody and everybody that has, and everybody's gone through. It might not be as extreme as another person, but we've all had that time where we just feel like, where am I going to go? What can I do from here? This is never going to change. Am I going to be any better? I think we need to kind of normalize some thoughts. So, because I think it's hyper perpetuated, especially in education, that some people are not as extreme as having a mental illness. They're just having a bad day. So I
yeah,
think we do talk on the gamut of that. It's not everybody's not always designed to be what's the word, prescribed as having a mental illness. They might just need somebody to listen for a second. And I
mhm,
think that is hyper perpetuated. And we can see that with data on our Black kids in education, because any relevance to them being their natural selves, being active, moving, especially Black boys, is said,
mhm.
oh, they got a mental disability. They have, what's that disorder they called it? Oh, I hate it when I hear it. Something about aggression. Something. Oh, it's something that they
Oh, I
gave a
can't
label to
remember.
these kids. It's something aggression disorder. It basically says you don't want to listen to
Oh,
authoritative disorder. Yeah,
oppositional defiant
something stupid.
disorder, or
Yeah, they got it in schools now. I'm like, what are you talking about? You just
yeah,
probably get on that child's nerve, or they don't respect you. If you put somebody respectable in front of them, or you give them the peace to let them know they're human, they won't act ignorant like that. So sometimes it just takes it takes talking, and people don't realize that. So it's extremes.
yes,
Sometimes it's just a matter of talking to them, and then sometimes it's a matter of we need to take this to another level. And um, I don't think just somebody in the school system saying, "Oh, that child needs some mental health." Teachers are not even licensed to diagnose that, and I can speak on that in the education
okay,
system. I have a degree in psychology, so I can talk more about it, even with me being licensed as an educator. So it makes me a little bit different. But yeah, it's just parents, just make sure you go to these meetings with these kids. Make sure you're showing up. I don't care if you work at 3 jobs. Put in some type of elected person, a neighbor or a family member, to go to these type of meetings and stuff, so they know that you are there. And if you look for a community, you'll find it. Don't If you're a single mother, or you're a single father, or somebody where you feel like you're by yourself, sometimes your neighbor will be right there to help you. And sometimes it just takes you being unproud and just kind of asking people, because I
that
think
part.
they're in community. We're just proud sometimes.
It's that part. You have to be unproud. You have to be able to say that's one of the
Yeah.
things that I have to admit. Having a mental health disorder. I told you all in a previous stream that I this last year and a half or so I have been living with two 20 something males through the pandemic. And do you think that we would have gotten through that if I didn't know how to be able to say I need, if I couldn't drop my pride, if I couldn't be more humble and have some humility? These young men have minds and thoughts and all that all their own, even though I may have raised one of them. The idea that just because I'm a 45-year-old disabled woman gives me some type of rule or authority, that's not how it works. And the same thing true here. We have to humble ourselves and be okay with being vulnerable to certain people. Living with
Mhm.
this disability, that's probably be one of the hardest things. Is There's always an anxiety or fear that when I tell someone that I live with dissociative identity disorder, that they're going to make jokes or that they're going to do something. And it does happen, for obvious reasons. There are people who um, mistreat me, or people with disabilities. They don't know any better. Like I said, gaslighting or just feeling like they're better than me because they don't live with such. Um, but being able to say that, and that most people respond to me with, they kind of brush it off. And I think it's because they don't know how to deal with it. I don't think that they know what to say next. The first time you tell someone that you have contemplated self deletion, they almost run from you rather than have the conversation. But
And
how is
you
someone
know what,
supposed to get out
JP?
of
What you know what it is, JP, and I'm just telling you just how we think as human beings. A lot of times it might not be them running. It might be just a subconscious. I don't want to talk about it because it might be a stigma. Like if you see somebody with one arm, you want to ask them a question, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to, hurt their feelings or stifle anything with them. So it might be something where you say, JP, and I have this. Do you have any questions? You know what I'm saying?
it?
Sometimes it might be that because people are willing to want to know what you have and understand it. I think it's the opposite. I think a lot of times we think people are running from us when if we make it plain and clear, like you're doing, you're opening yourself up to social media and letting them know and talking about these things that need to be talked about. I think they'll have an ear to hear. You just have to have the conversation. So I impede you to try that in the moments where you feel like they might not want to talk to me, put it out there and really see if it is that issue. And if it is, bump them, keep it moving. But, sometimes people are just scared to ask those things because they don't want to offend you.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
This is the thing. The things that they do ask are certainly far more offensive. I've had someone, um, what was it? Basically, I said I had a dissociative identity disorder, and then they'll do things to see whether or not they can pull one of the identities out. And I'm like, seriously, why? Why? First of all, I'm a very positive person, and I have most of me in check, so you are okay. But do you really want to run the risk that I'm having a bad day and you pull the wrong one? Why? To what end? Why would you attempt to harm me and you for entertainment? That's the
Mm.
thing. But by the same token, um, I think that I think people do run a little bit. I hear you, but if you're someone who is, if you know that you're depressed or might have considered it yourself, maybe you
Hmm.
just you leave because you don't want to not commiserate, but you're worried that hearing this person out will make it slip out of your mouth that you're
It
not
will
alone.
perpetuate what you have and you already. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get
You
exactly what,
know,
and Shanita's right in the chat. Shanita says everyone has something wrong, and then I think Adrian hit on it. She said sometimes, and this is exactly what you said, JP. She said sometimes people intend to hurt you. She said they try to break you. They call it trying to humble you. I will not value those people, but I divest. So that's basically what you're saying right now. And yes, that's true.
yes.
I mean, when you can tell somebody's like literally intentionally trying to hurt you, obviously, yes.
You
That
know,
that is exactly correct. Yes.
and as people with disabilities are very often quiet. We don't advocating for yourself as a disabled person is one of the most I actually think it's the cause of my complex PTSD more than anything else. because having to constantly go into an office and tell someone this is what is happening to me, this is a pain, no, this medication didn't work, yes, I know that you already got me on 40 milligrams of morphine and 30 milligrams of Percocet and 15 milligrams of Roxy, this is not working.
Mm.
um Having to do that so many times only to look into the face of someone and they treat you as though, you know what I'm saying? As if you're not even real, as if you don't know anything that you're talking about. Shanita, I think it is fantastic that you have been an advocate for disabled folks. My son's had ADHD, and so that's how the journey started for me. But then again, you know, being their advocate taught me how to advocate for myself, and yet it's still a struggle. It's difficult. The last thing that was the biggest component that actually kicked over the complex PTSD into dissociative identity disorder was in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, around June. I ended up having to go out of work. I was having anxiety attacks every day. And so I went to an urgent care. And when I was in that urgent care, I've told this story before, so I won't tell it again. But when I was in that urgent care, the nurse called the police on me.
What?
Yeah. And so in that moment, having having all of those things happen to me, I completely split. Right, medical racism is a real thing, and
Oh,
she
wait.
told me, I don't know why they would send you here. We're not going to give you any drugs. And I was like, yeah, I know you ain't gonna, you know. And I said one curse word, and in that moment she called the cops on me. So now here we are back in this panic state all over again, where I've got to deal with the Rolodex of things that are happening to me.
Right. And what you said about that, the medical racism, and I think you can akin to that too, because I believe you were on there. I don't know if you missed that time we talked about that in the live. Remember we talked about, I think her name is Shayla Mercado, that
Hmm.
American Idol girl in Florida, where she had her baby taken away, and she said she had the key to that city, I think Sarasota, Florida, and the adjoining city, and
Yeah.
they ended up stopping her and taking her baby. And so that is another form of discrimination, because why
Mhm.
are you taking her baby, if only if it was for you know, she's breastfeeding the baby and she hasn't done a crime. So what is going on here? So yeah, we know that's common. There's studies that show that Black women are dying at an alarming rate, having children just in childbirth, which is something natural. How are they dying from childbirth? Just in facilities, in medical facilities. So you know, it is a discussion that needs to be had, and
Yes, it
it's
is.
data proven. So
Yeah. Welcome back, blind guy, his wife, their life. I'm so glad you
hey,
could make it. Sorry it was on the police part. But that's the other thing we do have to talk about. There's a compound interest when you have mental health issues. Sorry, I mean to take this one. There is a compound interest each time that I come across a situation. Just before I started this, at around 4:20, before I took on my first client here, um, one of my neighbors killed a guy in front of his apartment. Now, mind you, I
gee,
told you that I just had my own issues with race and police officers, medical racism, my cousin being, all of this happened right outside of my apartment. Guy went into a complete and total spiral and shut down. Could I have controlled it? Nah, I did my best, right? You know, I minimized the risk and to me, but I had to shut down everything in order to be able to do that. Welcome back, Patrice. I was over there before I started my stream, so I feel you and I appreciate you supporting her. Um, it's just that it's that thing, you know, we have to be so mindful of so many things, and so we have to balance that in how we move. And like I said, one of the things that's most important to me is using music to do that. Like in that moment, thank goodness there are things that I know, having had mental health issues for some time now, and the people around me, because I was able to express, I was able to be vulnerable and express my needs. I know that I have to have a plushie. Where is he? Excuse me. He's usually in bed with me, but he's always close by. His name is Fella. He's a Cthulhu. And thanks to Normal Free Zone, she knew and understood what I was going through, and she sent him to me. It's just something to comfort me, kind of like having a puppy next to you, something just to immediately take the anxiety level down. I know that I have to have headphones, at least one in my ear at all times, because um, loud noises, quick bangs, those types of things startle me. And then the recovery from that startle takes so long. The people around me know you can't throw things in my presence because, again, I immediately feel as though I'm in danger. There's a high level of fight or flight, and it's really when it comes to dealing with mental health issues and dissociative identity, is fight, flight, or freeze. When I discussed the issue earlier with the lizard, that was a freeze response. My fight response is usual is basically it's arguing, arguing, arguing. But as I tried to explain to the fella, I don't want to argue. I don't want to be in that situation. I have lost control of my physical body, and now I'm out here. Dissociate. I have dissociated from my body, and whatever is happening is not what I want to happen. It is just happening, right? And so he learned, okay, I need to snap, clap, touch her, do something so that when she's having one of these moments, I can get her back here, back into her body, back into reality, and then we can deal with the conversation again, right? That's not me, out here in the middle of Victoria's Secret rolling around on the floor acting a stone fool. You are fully aware, even in dissociative moments, I know what is happening. I can't control it, right? So I have a hard time with those things. And that's my thing. I balance my mental health by making sure that someone else is aware so that they can tell me when things don't look right. He knows, or the people in my life know when I'm having a bout of depression because my house isn't clean. I keep a very tidy home. And so to see a pile of clothes stacked up in a corner and a pile of dishes over here and such over there, it lets someone know something ain't right. And then they'll ask a question. But like you said, it's about opening yourself up. We aren't vulnerable enough. And if I have to say anything to everybody, man, woman, black, white, able, disabled, enabled, whatever you want to call it, you've got to learn to be vulnerable and be okay with it. Learn to say that you have needs and tell people how you need them addressed and then move on that, because that's all you got. When everything else is gone, when it's all of the bells and whistles, the eyelashes, the friends, the whole kit and caboodle, all you have are the communication skills amongst each other. And if you can't open up and share everything, you're gonna fall apart and you're gonna lose the people around you.
Mm-hmm. True. Is the screen broke?
No. Yeah, it did. There we go. You got me back? Okay. So did anybody in the chat have any questions? You got muted, Miss B Finesse. There you go. Do you have any questions? Does anybody else have any questions before we go further? I don't want to take up too much of anybody's time tonight. I just wanted to be able to give you the opportunity to understand that it looks like this. Mental health disorder looks exactly like this. And this is one of those things, the victim Olympics is what I want to talk about. Spend a lot of time these days running through the victim Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm a woman, so I'm a minority. Oh, I'm a this, so I'm a minority. Oh, I'm a such and such, so this happens to me. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
People can't see most of those things. You know what they can see? They can see your race and they can see your sexual orientation, your sex, gender, excuse me. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. All that other stuff is back inside of you. And until you share it, they don't know it. And how you share it matters. It doesn't have to be a burden that you have these things. Is my life with mental illness a struggle? Yeah, but I thrive. I get up every day. I choose a theme song. I put on a positive mindset, and then I go out there and I move my day. I can't do a millennial mindset. I'm 45. But I can I can't do a positive mindset. And that's the thing.
Mhm.
We need to start trying to be more positive, more compassionate, and communicate those things and put them into our children. And that's what I guess my question to you is, when I share with young people that I do have these mental health issues, but it hasn't changed my quality of life because I've chosen not to, how do I help them understand that it's up to you to manage the quality of life piece?
Hmm, that's a good question. To me, I feel like it's practicality. I know, like I said, the students that I've taught, as far as being an educator, from young adults down to teenagers, they can relate to relatable traits and attributes. So I don't think age makes a difference when it's something as real as I hurt, I'm sad, I feel like I want to punch something. I don't feel like anybody cares. Like certain, different traits and attributes and kind of feelings that we all feel are relatable to any age. Now, I think there's a way to kind of to bring it to a massive group of younger people. Then, like you said, you're being very smart about how you're handling. You're bringing it down their lane. You're in Twitch. You're in Discord, where they're at. But I think the connection of the just speaking to anybody, there's always relatable, like I said, just character traits or ideals that we talk about, we all can relate to. I think even a kid just sitting listening to you, they don't have to be the same age as you. I think they can connect because you are talking, not even in a parable, but what you're saying is something that they can feel. Okay, you said something like they were laughing at you, I guess you said before, or they were trying to trigger you. Guess what? Teenagers go through that all the time, going down to elementary. You got little kids picking on you because you're clothes. They're picking on you because you're too skinny, too fat. They're picking on you because you don't have a social media presence. Because that's the thing, even in elementary, you got to have you a Facebook, a Snapchat, a TikTok account. They're picking on them because of the way they look or how they're dressed. So there's a lot of relatable things that even a young person can connect. And I think it's just like they were saying in the chat. You just got to open up and tell your story, and the people that need to receive it are going to organically come. So it's a matter of just naturally being yourself, being open enough to be vulnerable, to step out in other venues, to let your story let your story be told, and then come what may, whoever needs to hear it is going to organically come to it. So I think we're too caught up with, and it's so funny with me because it took me forever to start this YouTube channel, but it's so funny, like we're caught up in doing it the right way, and I know I'm such a perfectionist, it's sickening. I think that's a really great thing about my life and why I've achieved so much, and then yet and still, as my husband says, babe, you are trying to do too much. Just sit still with me and relax. And
Yeah.
it's so weird because I've been so hyper for so long and it works for me. I've accomplished so much, but it's like even you got to have somebody sometimes to just tell you to peace, be still and relax. And I didn't know how great that felt. Like
Yeah.
I get so calm and like peace at peace when I'm relaxed because I'm so like hyper. I would have can I probably did have ADHD, but I was never diagnosed with it because I'm super, super hyper. Like I can't sit still. Even now, like I'm like fidgeting my legs. But with that being said, I've always been one, and I tell my students and people I coach and whoever, if somebody needs help or I have to counsel them or whatever, I always tell them like, be your best you. That's why I have the finesse in the name of my page and who I am and what I'm trying to grow and start, because to me the finesse part is not about getting over. The finesse is, this is who you are. You find that reality of who you are. You find that thing in you that makes you you, aka the old word, I guess you could call it swag, and you just work that. You don't try to be anybody else. You finesse your finesse, whatever that thing is, it pulls people into you. You do that. And I tell them all the time, if you be your authentic self, one thing about it, you're going to have a lot of respect for your own self and self-esteem, because you're not trying to fit in a hole. And it's I think this is something we need to push to kids, especially those of us that are over a certain age, because it takes some of us all our life to realize, like, I didn't even have to do or be that. I could have just been myself and been happier and
Yeah,
minus them 20
exactly.
grams or whatever. And we're not pushing that enough. I say that all the time. I'm telling you, this is $200 session sitting on my couch here. I'm telling y'all right now, y'all gonna owe me when y'all graduate. Just be yourself. Stop
Yes.
caring about what people think about you, because really they don't even know themselves. Because when you're in your authentic self, you gravitate people. And,
You
and
know,
it doesn't matter the amount, you gravitate who's meant to be in your space for that season. And we got to get over this. And I get it too. Like, I'm trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to get the watch time. And you know why I'm trying to get it? Is because I know once I get them, that can matriculate to more and more and more. So in my mind, it's not really about getting to the monetization part. It's like the quicker I can get to different people, the quicker this my what I'm trying to get out into the world can flow. So, and because I know it's always been in my heart, I've always been told it, like, you need to get out to more people. They need to hear you. They need to be encouraged by you. You need to be more than just sitting in this one building with these one group of people or kids, or in this one area or school district or whatever. So that's my thing. Like, I really want to push, it can be done. Push, be yourself, finesse it, do you, and it's a mindset. So that whole title, Millennial Finesse. I've never been one to just follow, and I've come to find out that's not a normal trait. I'm thinking everybody kind of just doesn't follow people. I'm thinking
I
everybody
thought that
stands
too.
their ground.
I
I'm
thought
thinking
that too.
everybody, and I'm tactful. So I not an old school me. Old school me would tell you about yourself and keep it moving. Like, I didn't care what you thought. But the wise me, especially when I had children, I learned that my words are powerful. My mouth is powerful. I can command a room. So since I know I have that power, I got to be careful with how I'm spitting them bullets. So
Yes.
I've learned I have so much more power that I sit and have an ear to hear people. And now I can disseminate. Oh, it's not that you hate me or what I'm doing. You just don't understand that. So let me deal with the not understanding instead of calling you a dummy or the B word or out your name or you a hater. It's like we don't sit and just have conversations. So that's kind of what I like with the community, what I like, just having these conversations, I think will get us way farther.
Yeah, Adrian Nash said something here, and it goes with with one of my favorite, unable to remember correctly, quotes. She said, "I'm not in competition with anyone. Can't nobody outdo being me." Dr. Seuss
No,
said, "Be the youiest you can be." Exactly. I told you I'm a
exactly.
special cup of unicorn. I'm my own person, and that's the thing. You mentioned earlier, you said that they didn't diagnose you with ADHD, but you're pretty sure you had it, honey. They just told me at 45 that I'm autistic. I was like, "Yep, I'll put that in the back pocket and keep it hot." Every now and then, that my the way my autism is set up, I play a theme song, but that's about it. Like, we have to accept. I accept that these are things that are now a part of my life, and they are not things that have to negatively affect my life if I make the choice to see something different. If I make the
Interesting.
choice to accept that, yeah, my life's going to come with a certain level of anxiety, a certain level of pain, a certain level of such and such, but I don't have to hold that in or consume it as the hurt and the pain that it is. And when I give out to the world, I don't have to spew it out to the world. When I do share my story, I can share it with compassion and love and say, listen, even though I hurt, even though I cry, I get up, I smile, I find my positive place, right? So, by the way, today's theme song is Smile Again by D'Angelo, because I found my
Okay.
smile again. It takes some time, right? To be able
Yeah.
to do any of those things. And we need to keep that in mind. We don't give ourselves enough space. We don't give the
Mhm.
people around us enough space. But I think that if we all well, I guess what I want you to take away from this conversation today is if you can look at me and you can see that without me saying anything, you'd never know this is what I experience. Every one of the disabilities and illnesses that I go through is invisible, right? But you all see me and accept me for a kind, compassionate person. And as a result, when I tell you that I'm struggling, you understand. Assume that of everybody else, right?
Right.
Don't wait for
Right.
them to tell you all of their struggles and pains. Assume that you can't see their struggles and pains, but that a kind word from you will get them through and meet them on that foot. That's my goal.
Hmm. Good. Hey, JP, I got a question because you
Mhm.
touched on autism, and I really got into that, like understanding the different levels of that. I say about 5 years ago. Can you kind of touch base into the on the spectrum where your autism is? for people, because I know autism is a big thing people are talking about, but people don't really understand the spectrums to it. They think it's just some like somebody sitting like this idle face. Like, can you kind of
Right.
touch base on that before you go?
Not everyone's autism, like any other disability or disorder, it doesn't always show up the same. So autism is a spectrum, and it's a basically it's neurodivergence. So my brain doesn't move the way that everybody else's does, and they say that mine is a direct result of the complex PTSD. That at some point something in kind of switched. And so I process things different. I move a little bit differently. When I'm under high stress,
Quick question. Quick question. Is the autism something that you've always had, or at what moment you said PSD? What moment did it happen so people can kind of see the line of it?
so they say that autism is something that I have always had. I just didn't get diagnosed until last year. Um,
Oh,
I'm not now. You have to understand, I am a woman in my 40s and I'm a black woman. So when you think about the way that things are tested in the medical industries, definitely back then, you would start with men, young black men. And so that's why our boys get diagnosed first. And then
mm-hmm.
our women and daughters are way later in the spectrums, which is why I didn't come, I mean, in the diagnosing or testing
Right.
stages. And so that's why we don't find out until now. My sons both, two out of the three, were told that they had ADHD. They were diagnosed at 4 and 6.
Okay.
It's always been an assumption, but what I will say is it's just to autism for me, to me, it's just a matter of I move differently.
Okay.
When I'm stressed out, or even when I'm over happy, anything, when I'm overstimulated in a good way or a bad way, there are things that I do. I tend to dance and sing when I'm overstimulated. Um, I also I will dissociate when I'm overstimulated in a place that I don't know. So, say for instance, I'm out, we go to the store or whatever, and the lights are too bright and there's too much sound, and I've forgotten my headphones that day. Um, I'm just kind of a robot moving through space. But not
Mm-hmm.
everyone who has autism or ADHD is a computer or are able to quickly rattle off things like that. I can come up with a theme song and drop some stuff like that off in a heartbeat, but we don't all have the same. That's why they say it's a spectrum, because there's so many things and so many things that end up on that spectrum. ADHD is on there, oppositional defiant disorder. There are levels to this thing.
Right. Good. I did want you to explain and say that just in case people are coming in and they don't really understand it, and they maybe not understand that it's a true spectrum, and they were not kind of stereotyping autism just means this and they're not doing
Yeah.
anything. It's a spectrum. So
Yes.
thank you for explaining that.
No problem. Yes, Patrice. They told me last year at 45 that I'm on the spectrum. I just giggled and put it in my back pocket. Hey, Darius, thank you so much for showing up. Did you have a good time over there with Rush? Are you gonna
Hey,
get her some socks?
Darius. What's
She gonna
up,
get you some socks.
Darius?
We're just having a discussion about what it's like to live with mental health disorders. I guess the title says "Fuck your feelings, I'm the crazy one," because I feel like if I can manage to be kind and positive and not out here, listen. One of the things is with people who have autism or on the spectrum, oftentimes get away with using terrible words because they've got Tourette's or they're somehow
Correct. Yeah.
stimming. That's not true. There's you can magically becoming a racist when you have Tourette's is not a real thing. If you racist, and your Tourette's just happens to carry the N word with it all the time. It is what
Wait
it
a
is.
minute. Wait a minute. Rewind it back to say that again. What you
What
just say? What you just say?
people,
Repeat it.
because
Because
people, in some disabled spaces, folks will be like, "Oh well, the way that the way that my Tourette's is set up, I just say nigga, 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 nigga." No, you don't. No,
sorry. That's
that's
crazy.
not your Tourette's. That's you. I apologize for using the N bomb. Y'all know I don't normally, but hey, it's after 9 o'clock where y'all are, and I needed to just say it as real as possible. It's the truth of the matter. Uh, Yes, there are different levels to autism. There are different levels to most disabilities. Like I said, last year this time with my fibromyalgia, I was stuck in the bed. This year, because I live in a different place and I have mastered some of the things that I have going on, it's not quite the same. I'm able to get up and go out and do the things.
Thanks, Darius. But see, and this is another thing, sidebar,
Yes,
family. All the people are family. And then we got new family coming in the chat. Some people I don't know, and I can see the connection that they have with you, JP. This is what I love. This is building and this is growing and compounding and we're engaging. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. I mean, this is really awesome
yes. It's a little stuck for a
because we
second
are
there.
engaging. So thank you guys for that.
Quita, I like how you get mad because she leave a line and then you go into full details about glistening ripples under studio lights. Hunty, how does it feel? Okay, anyway, back to where we were. Thank you so much, Darius, and Patrice. I accept that. I like the fact that people think that folks with autism are super highly intelligent. I throw my glasses on so I can be smarter sometimes. um Everybody's just saying hello in the chat. Hey, Ellie JJ, so glad to see you popping in and out once again. I appreciate it. So really, again, like I said, you guys, we're just having a discussion about what it's like to live with mental health issues. It's a journey for me every day, but it's a positive journey. It's one that I try to make sure that I try to represent myself, my people, the disabled community, the Black community, all of us in the best light possible. And like I said, you don't know that I have um, CPS, complex PTSD with dissociative identity disorder. You don't know that I have fibromyalgia or any of those things until I tell you. But I meet you in the street as if you do, and I try to meet you with kindness and grace. And I just wish that we would all do more of that. So, does anybody have any questions, Miss B Finesse? Anything that I
I
missed?
do. I do have a question.
Okay.
Just trying to connect it with parents and their children. You as a parent dealing with mental disabilities, how could you help a parent? Let's say they go to their first checkup or get the first diagnosis that their child has this type of disorder or something, because you know that's a big shock and a big hit to especially Black parents when they hear anything that their child has to do with mental abilities. Oh, they don't have it. No, they just need to tell what. No, they don't. There's nothing wrong with them. No, we gonna send them around some men, or we gonna do just anything to dissociate the child from the reality of it. Just like in the live earlier when Little Wayne was talking about how his mother just kind of disconnected from him and he couldn't
Mhm.
tell his friends at school anything, so he kind of just sat isolated. What would you say to parents that get this diagnosis and or parents that might think their child might have something? What would you suggest for them to do as a parent that has dealt with it and you said your children had that?
I'll start with when my kids were originally diagnosed. I wanted to be like, nope, you full of it. Nope, y'all always trying to say Black
Yep.
boys, this, that, just trying to put any label on my babies, blah, blah, blah. That whole thing. We all do that.
Mhm.
And we should, right? You don't
Of
immediately
course.
trust what anybody says. You know your child better than others. And that's the thing. You should know your child. So what I immediately started to do was to gather my own research on what ADHD was, on the spectrum itself, and then what things that I could do that did not involve drugs or doctors or any of those things in order to help my children in case that were the truth. I came
Mhm.
across a book by Dr. Juwanza Kunjufu. It was called The Conspiracy to Destroy.
Black males.
Yeah.
That was so good. There is a video. Listen, if you don't got time to sit and read the book, oh my goodness. There's a video on
Yes.
YouTube. Just Google it. Every Black person needs to watch that. It is
Yes.
so good. I'm sorry, JP, for butting in, but that is mind blowing. It's so good.
As to Patrice, I think that every Black person suffers from complex PTSD and we just don't know it. We spend our every day, especially Black mothers, but most of us, we spend our every day understanding how many things are out there that are pitfalls, traps, quicksand for us. And we have to figure out how to maneuver that. And then we immediately get hit by the onslaught of abuses in the media, right? As soon as something happens to one of our men, it's plastered all over the internet. We see it repeatedly over and over and over again. And so it's those kinds of things. That I think mean that, we do. I may be more directly affected, but we all kind of go through some of that. Uh, so I just wanted to make sure that we address and understand that most Black folks, I believe, have some type of mental health issues that they're dealing with. What are you getting lit on over there, Trash Can Waves? Coming from Rushes, I know you was over there digging the candles and the mood lighting, so I'm not sure if mental health is where you want to go next. But hey, I heard you like them crazy chicks, so this one might be right up your alley too. I'm not sure. Um, you do always look beautiful, Quita. Ain't no buried around. Nobody worried about you, Mr. Darius. I appreciate that, and I fully understand. You get that little one all the love and respect. You just make sure you listen close and share some of it with her later on. Um, your ladies so appreciate you gentlemen showing up for them at all the time.
Yay! And Trash Can Waves, he got to have his lady with them Crocs on. He wants a woman with Crocs. He wants a natural, authentic woman. Trash Can
Apparently,
Waves.
he can't make up his mind. He want a woman with Crocs and then the spider eyelashes and some heat and a little bit of drama. Apparently, he like them codified. Indeed, Shanita, generational PTSD from slavery. That is exactly how I see
Yeah.
it. And it's something that we need to talk to with our children and try to address and help get out of all of us. I did see your red light special, you dirty man. I mean, I saw your trailer for it. I love how you use the lead attorney talking about, I've been
Right.
choking women ever since. Lord. Lord, that's how you know that none of us is actually in professional media because no one would have let that word come out of his mouth ever. Ever. Oh, my bad. No eyelashes. Make sure you got a bonnet. I was wrong. Please forgive me.
Shame.
Quita, I do believe that food is a fix. The problem is some of us try to fix it with food a little too much, and
Mm-hmm.
then end up in my other situation. But you're right. A lot of things can
Mm-hmm.
be healed by just the right things that we put in our diet, the way that we move. For instance, I know that I've been allergic to cheese since I was in the second grade. But I
Mm-hmm.
still eat it. If I stopped, I'd probably have a little bit less inflammation, and my mood wouldn't be so bad. But damn it, cheese is delicious. Cheese ain't never hurt
Hey,
nobody.
listen. Sidebar, guys, we gonna get it because you guys know I come with the history. I'm a little history buff here. You guys talked about that food, and we were connecting our PTSD with slavery. Even the foods we eat, guys, we don't realize it's like a cognitive dissonance. If you go back and even look at some of these old slave movies and stuff like that, it was a food that was left from the master's table. So, and this is how innovative we are, how awesome we are. We took them scraps and made a whole meal that now is like on the elite delicatessens in like these expensive like restaurants. So like even the food we eat is kind of PSTD. It's things that we just had to work so our babies didn't starve, and we had to, mix it up, shift it up, and sprinkle it up, and just make it something so we could have food in our stomach. So it goes deep with us. I think if we really understood the layers that we have, and we dealt with that instead of the ignorance of calling each other names and saying we ignorant and stupid, we're not trying to hear what you're saying. Like we
Mm.
really all came down to the level of let's all be on the same level. Now let's talk. And we all had an ear to hear to be like, listen, dang, and receive. I got that problem. I got that problem. That's our problem. We don't want to get constructive criticism on Nathan. I remember that word, Nathan. Do y'all still say that word? That's old school.
Oh,
But
that's old school.
like we don't want it, and it's just natural because we're to a level now where we can get things our parents and grandparents couldn't get easily. So we feeling ourselves, like my granny say, you smelling yourself. So
Yes.
we can't naturally come down and have these discussions because we have an air about ourselves to where, well, like you said, sometimes it's just we don't want to deal with it, or cognitive dissonance. I got a house and a car and two kids and a husband. I don't want to talk about it. This your problem. Them your people, you deal with it. And if we keep separating like them your people, them people, whatever, as far as the community of Black people, in America, that's our problem. Because if you go to any other culture, they're not having that. They're not talking about their people. They're not rapping about their people, saying they're gonna kill them. No other culture does that. We're the only people that do that type of stuff. We're only people that talk about our women. We're the only people that disrespect our men. We're the only people that let our kids go out, little babies, half naked, and think that's cute. Them moving their butt back and forth to get other people aroused. Like we're the only people that do that. So we got to be the people to change that. We
Why?
gotta.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who says that our little people are out here moving their booties around to get aroused? Now you're gonna get me in a whole nother conversation because I feel like that's a little bit of adult projection onto tiny people,
Say that
ain't it?
again.
That's a
On the
little bit of
tiny people.
adult projection onto children. Your baby not out there shaking her tail because
I don't
she's
allow
trying to
that.
get nobody aroused. Adults are taking it that way, right?
I don't allow that crap. That's not in this house. I don't allow that stuff. Well, when I'm talking in generalities, JP. I'm talking about the whole ideal of it's okay for us as a group to even let big stars get on a national stage and do something like that. Like we as a community, no, we're not accepting that. We're not going to buy that. And I think it doesn't hit people till they have kids. I think some people allow things to happen in the community because they're like, I want to see that. It got me going. But then when you actually get that first child or some child that you are responsible for, you mentor your niece, your nephew, whatever it is, you'll see it in a different light. And you'll be like, because they're seeing that. That's all they know. So I don't think we can waver on this. Is we either got to be one way or the other. And I think that's what this discussion is about. I really like this. I like we're having this discussion. I like we're engaged, and I like that we are open minded to hear each other. And it's not going to change overnight. I know that, but we need to have these discussions. Definitely.
Did anybody say
I don't
that's
even
them about hard times and slavery? Curious. I have never heard it before. Plagiarized roots. Well, Ellie JJ, can you be more clear? Do you mean when you say did they say anything about the hard times in slavery, like how they got through that kind of thing? 'Cause I'm not quite sure what your question is there, and I don't, Bruce was one man's version of his family's whatever, right? So I don't try to hold us all to that standard. What I do think though is we know the realities. We know there were some harsh things. When you go, if you actually are looking at what's that man's name? I'm sorry, if you're actually looking at history, if you have gone to the I think it's called the Slavery Holocaust Museum or something, the Black Holocaust Museum, African American, those things. If you go across and check out some of those things, then you have an understanding of slavery, the hard times that our people experienced, and the fact that we're not experiencing hard times like that or like the civil rights era or those things. So young black folks today, we do have it more privileged than the folks that came for us. And we take that for granted. Also, while simultaneously crapping on the people who made it so we could have these advantages in our life. And I think that also has a little bit to do with how we deal with some of our own mental health issues, right? We don't want to talk about the bad things. We don't want to talk about um, so many things that we try to hide. Um, I can't say that in my case, LEJJ. My family history is a conundrum to me. My mother passed 25 years ago, and she never really got to tell her story. Um, and then I've come from a different background. My ex husband's family, though, they do share their oral history. My great grandmother in law, or I guess my grandmother in law is 104, or former grandmother in law is 104. And she does share, her and her siblings did share their history going down through the generations. And so my sons do have some understanding of that. I can't believe that anybody actually ate. Trash Can Ways will do his best to get you off topic anytime that he can. Luckily, I am the master and I am better than him at this thing. I can do it. Man, I just got off a deep YouTube panel with kings and queens discussing what black communities is going to do about addressing the brother polite.
Oh, I did a story on that. I know what
Why
she's
did the
talking about
black
with Polo.
I know what she's talking about with Brother Polite. Patrice, if you want to come up and share, you're welcome to. I'm not a Brother Polite fan. I've known about him for some time, but I felt that way about Umar as well. So I try not to. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, you don't say nothing at all. I be quiet. Um,
Yeah, I did a video over that too, guys. So I did a video over the polite thing. Just in a nutshell, what happened is um one of his suitors or whatever, one of his suitors, their daughter underage was in, like, I don't know, he was supposed to go to a club and he ended up
be right
going
back.
out with the daughter. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll
Babe,
be
can
right
you
back.
oh, my bad, my bad. He was supposed to go out with the daughter, well, no, the wife's daughter, she's underage. He's supposed to go to a club, he didn't go, and there's some allegations about him and the daughter. So if you want to know more about that, you can guys click on my channel. I did do a video on that. I don't know if you coming up, Patrice, to talk about it, but yeah, there's a lot of details to it. But it's just, if you don't know who he is, I do detail that in the video on my page. He's one of the conscious people in the conscious community, and he went to jail. He has a whole backstory, and it's like he went from nothing to hanging out with different people in Hollywood. I believe he was like an advisor to Meta World, which is the basketball player. So I kind of go over that. So if you want to go look at that later, it's a kind of an update on that. But it's I think it's just something that was bound to happen with him. I think it was gonna come back like 100-fold on him, because I think he got too arrogant with that money. I think he really got arrogant with the money. I don't know. And I don't know him, but I knew of him just because there was, like, I don't know, videos would always come up like on my YouTube back in the day. So that's kind of how I knew he was. And I believe he was on the Breakfast Club years ago, like in 2016 or something. So stop it, you doing too.
My
CC
bad.
Trash Can Waves. Shanita Richardson, my grand. Okay. I'm there. Where a
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Well, and I
So
can speak on too. I do know history. I actually recorded my grandmother. She is 90. My grandmother, I believe she's 95 now. And the last time we went up there to visit her, I said, you know what? I need to record her talking, because she's so wise and with it. She remembers everything. And she basically broke down to me that she stared on a sharecropping farm. Her mother and father didn't have much, so she ended up going with her grandmother. And they lived on a sharecropping farm. And if you don't know what that is, a sharecropping farm was a place that it was a place that the slaves stayed after the Emancipation Proclamation, when they got released, because they didn't have money to go anywhere and do anything. Obviously, they had the skill, but what can you do if you don't have money to go get the land or do anything? So they stayed on the sharecropping farm. And she basically said how the men on the farm were mean. And her husband, when she married him at 18, she ended up moving, because my granny has like a lot of kids. She has over 13 kids. She ended up moving basically up north. So I do know my history of that. And she talked about, how they didn't have a lot and they had to live off a little bit. She talked about when she went to school. She said she went to school maybe once a week, one day a week, when they didn't have to work. But if they had to work, she said she didn't go to school. So I do know that history of my family. And you guys need to ask. Make sure you go ask. If you got elders or older people living, aunts, great aunts, uncles, cousins, go
mm-hmm.
talk to them and ask, because we need to hear that history, so we don't have an issue of, oh, I'm just connecting myself to slavery just because. No, we all have a story to tell. So I think it's important that we do that. But I want to hear what Patrice
Exactly.
says. Hey, who is
Right.
here?
So
Everybody's
let
here.
me just say this.
Family.
Everybody, welcome Blind Guy, his wife, their life, or we're
Welcome.
gonna go ahead and call you Quita because you by yourself. Quita and Patrice, thank you all so much for coming up onto the panel. I'm gonna let the discussion flow freely because, like I said, I do not know much about Brother Polite, and what I do know, I was told if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So, but before then, and this does still tie into the same thing when it comes to fuck your feelings. I'm the crazy one because one, that brother is a little bit off. Two, even in this situation, if he does have a mental health issue, it does not explain some of the things that he has done. You cannot excuse the behavior because of the diagnosis. That's just not okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Patrice because I think that she knows the most at the moment. And then Quita, you can follow behind her. Thank you all so much. By the way, again, Darius, Trash Can Waves, I'm so glad y'all showed up. Thank you all for supporting the last stream. Like I said, you guys, I won't be monetized for a while. I got 48 subscribers. Thank you, goodness. We're gonna keep pushing along, but please, hit the like, share, subscribe, cash app it, and go over to buy me a coffee. So let's keep this conversation going there and on Discord. Go ahead, Patrice.
Hey Queens, how y'all doing?
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Everybody's spirit good?
Yes, ma'am. Glad to see all of
Okay.
y'all here with me.
Hey Darius, I had to recharge y'all, like for real. I just got off of a podcast with some other brothers and sisters. A lot of them is from that Hotep conscious, Black conscious
Hmm.
community. And,
Hmm.
and man, I'm telling you, it's seriously in an uproar over there with a lot of the content creators and the people coming forward, women coming forward about the allegations against Brother Polite. I've never been a follower of his. Him and the people like your Young Pharaohs and your Umar Johnsons and your Sinettas. I just kind of think that all of those Black men are toxic in our community, and they have been a part of the problem as poverty pimps, if you will. They're no better than the
Hallelujah.
politicians and the preachers that rip the Black communities off all day, selling the religion and the the conscious, Black conscious this, the Black conscious that, and the pedophilia have been in those sectors since the days of African Bambaataa, when he was abusing sexually a lot of the young boys, and then moved from the Dr. Yorks of the world, who Polite got his training under, who he worships as a god, who is now, Dr. York is now serving 135 years in prison for pedophilia, sex trafficking, and all of this with a lot of boys and girls that were came up in that way, Nubian. So it's, oh my God, it's so crazy, because sitting on that panel, talking about the hurt, the pain, and the scars, the cover up of our Black communities, and how we have continuously swept, child molestation, the pedophilia uncle, the pedophilia brother, the pedophilia neighbor, the pedophilia, you know, uh, family member or friend, the babysitter, that have caused all this pain, in young Black men and women, because women have been known to be pedophiles as well. Look what happened to R. Kelly case. So all this is at the forefront, on the panels with that community over there. And because I care about my community and I believe in solutions and things of that nature. So we were talking about some of the old school ways of how the Black community used to handle certain things within the community, because they're actually talking about starting their own sovereign land. So I kind of gave them some information on that, starting their own sovereign country, kind of like the Native Americans. But but they keep bringing the whole religion, and the brothers was on the panel fighting. It was just like, oh my God, it was crazy. So my thing is always about solutions. So I brought some solutions to their
So,
attention,
well,
as to
Patrice,
say
were
that,
they trying to were they defending Polite? Were they
well,
what is that?
Hunty, it was this one guy that was on the panel that was defending Polite. Yeah.
Hmm.
And when I tell you how the chat, the panel, people went in, and that brother stick to his guns, defending Polite. And listen, and he was under Polite's teaching, a follower or whatever. And then you had people that was under his teaching and following that had got away, that are now coming forward about some things that they know that was going on unethical, and how he ripped people off with the real estate thing, with the
Mhm.
PPP thing, it's just so much, and and they hurting over there. They hurting real bad. Women getting on the panel crying because it's triggering them, because they are women that were abused, sexually molested as young girls, and things of that nature. And we're looking to the men to say, hey, what we gonna do? They too busy over there fighting about what different version of a Muslim, what's not Farrakhan, but the one Muhammad guy, what's his name, the
Elijah
one that
Muhammad?
You talking about the
Elijah,
guy that
thank
passed
you.
away?
Girl,
The
listen,
one
I've
that
been
passed
hearing
away?
names. Elijah Muhammad, his daughter was on the panel, And
Oh wow.
when I tell you it was one of his daughters, because he got a lot of daughters, and then it came up about him and how Malcolm X exposed him with, you know, the with that whole thing with the wives under age. Oh, it was, when I tell y'all, I was on the panel from, I got on about midnight, and we did not get off that panel until about 6 or 7 this morning.
Have mercy.
When I tell you, it is serious business. And now Sinetta is involved. You know, him and Polite was going at it on YouTube and everything. I think that the FBI is getting ready to get involved, because, you know, it's national. It's all over the news.
Yeah.
And
So,
go ahead.
I think my question for you, Quita, because I would put you into the Pan African space if I was going to pick any space. How do you feel that's affecting the perspective or other people's views on the Pan Africanism in general? I mean, I know that Brandon and O'Shea are out there trying to do their own thing for damage control, but oh, are you muted? Nope, it's on my end. Hold on. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Hey everybody, how are you tonight?
Wonderful.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey.
Yes, hello Patrice. Dog, I basically came up here because I saw the baby. No, actually the baby was so cute. I'm like, girl, we weren't listening to you when you had the baby, but we weren't. So anyway, from what we
You
could
see
see of
how
the
y'all
baby,
do me?
which girl, look, this how the baby did you. You know, once you have kids, it's over with for you.
You
So
don't matter.
right. So anyways, but no, we were listening. Thank you for the background, both of you. Honestly speaking, this is one of the reasons I came on here, is because we're talking about these folks and what they did and all of that. And you know, my angle is food. At the same way we can pick apart these people's roles and say this person is involved this way or this person is that way. Well, O'Shea is on the continent and so is doing that. A lot of us don't know the nutrients in a loaf of bread. We don't even know if it's bread or if it's sugar. We don't even realize what we're eating, how it's affecting us. And we always default right back to the same things. So we always wind up talking about the same stuff. Like from what you've just asked, we're going right back to, oh man, those black folks. Woo, huh. I know my history. Guess what? I found out, or guess what I know, and this, that, and the third. But it's like, you can know your history and move forward. You cannot know your history and move forward. Let's say the cliches they have out here about you don't know where you're going until you know it's a cliche. It's just a saying. It really is, because you have people that don't know. They don't have beginnings. I know a man right now who he suffered amnesia. It was like the stories, the soap operas. I'm like, is this real? Young and the Restless type of thing. Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital. He had amnesia to the point where he told us that, and this is a brother. It's he's in his 50s right now, and he's in the tech space. So like, he's one of the guys that the tech people that I follow here on YouTube. He's in some of the different groups. And I noticed like he would ask questions, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know how much he knows. I just figured he's older, maybe he knows. But one thing he told us one of those times is that he had some sort of accident, something happened to him. He was unconscious for a while, a week, a month. I can't remember the time frame, but when he came to, he couldn't remember. He said he didn't remember walking his daughter down the aisle, but that's what she told him. He has pictures. He didn't remember his wife, but the family remembers him. And so my point is that we always wind up talking about what they did and who they are and who we are, and we don't focus on food. We say cheese is delicious, darn it, and we move on, and then we go right back to, but I have this and I have that. And I think there's a lot more to the conversation on food, and when we get into all of these things about Brother Polite, about the Hotep community and all of that, it takes us back into that space of us really having a disconnect. It's sort of like it's gossip. We know about it, but we don't feel connected. And I say that because how many of us can name friends that we can call up all around the world and know their experience, know what life is like for them right now, today, without knowing what happened 100, 200 years ago. Just to have people around the world that you know today, So I don't think we really need to spend 6 or 7 hours, 2 or 3 hours, 5 to 12 hours, always talking about, our plight, our people, without just constantly looking at solutions. And I
Absolutely.
came on here to specifically talk about cheese,
Leave me alone with the
dairy,
cheese,
because
lady.
it's a dairy item, and it has a big part of everything that you've been talking about tonight with your inflammation.
It does, and I know it. And I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I have gotten to the point where, and I want to tell you where I came from. When I first started culinary school, I was not eating dairy or cheese because I'd had the surgery and couldn't. And then I started culinary school, and I was going to be paying $60,000 for this culinary experience. I wish I would not eat what it was that I was cooking. And so that moved on into this stage where I kind of every now and then, but now I'm on the other side. The fella has been fussing at me enough. My sons have been fussing at me, and I do know that the food that I eat is a detriment to me sometimes, especially as at the weight that I am now, and with the inability to do certain things. Whoa, what happened there? Let me change the orientation because that just looks weird. Oh, because Miss B Finesse dropped off. That's what it was. Okay. Um, Seeing, the way that I eat and those things, I do know that they affect me. I'm a culinarian and I can't say that I don't already know it. So, yeah, I'm doing better. I use almond milk for the things that I do put dairy in these days. And cheese is a maybe probably a once a week thing, because I do know I need to do better. Most of my life is fruits and vegetables, or and meat flavored fruits and veggies anyway. Because I don't really like the taste of. I don't like to chew meat. I like the taste of it. So I put a little bit of meat in my vegetables, and then that's what I eat.
That's what I'm saying though. Like, you're talking about you personally, and I'm talking about us as a whole. So, like, it's commendable that you're saying, well, I realize what it does to me, but the same way that we have these talks and these long, talks about whether it's mental health or whether it's physical health or whether it's building our businesses, like, whether it's, I'm trying to think of some of these other talks that we get into, history, because I'm in that space too with the YouTubers that will have a 3 to 5 to 8 hour live stream. Everybody putting their information in about what happened in this kingdom or that space or this space, what happened with their particular culture and tribe. But we never, pretty much never ever have this conversation about what you're saying. You understand it. You understand the detriment, let's just say the dairy detriment. And this is where I'm not necessarily coming with receipts, but what I'm saying is that there are some very big YouTube channels that cover this on a regular basis. And it's one of those things where it's like, wow, so many people know about this. So many people watch these videos every day. There are conferences on this every day. Let's just talk about the dairy industry, for example. We talk as Black folks about, what things we can and cannot do. But one thing that we cannot do as a nation, for those of us here in the United States, is we can't switch to the metric system that the rest of the world is on because of the dairy industry. It's just that powerful. So when we look at, we think our enemy is the government, or we think our enemy is, this man or that man, or brother polite, or it's the religion, or it's whatever. All of those things are the distractions. But one of the biggest, enemies, so to speak, or one of our biggest issues, it starts at the food. It really does, to the point where if we all have Roundup being sprayed on our food, this is how we end up with, on the autism spectrum, this is how we end up with autoimmune diseases. This is how we end up with anomalies. Like all of these things are very much related. But if you don't know about it, and if you don't know about it in depth, you only know the headlines, and that's only because we aren't having deep dives into these things. Then that's how we wind up on such on the extremes. And you know what Ellie JJ is saying? I'm a real nurse. You know what? These are the things I found out on my own because as a nurse, you definitely aren't learning these things, you know. And trash can waves. The reason why you want your cheesy back ribs and barbecue sauce is because cheese is addictive and they know it. You know what I mean? It's like it's mother's milk, which has an addictive quality. It has something in it to make you want it. Like that's just the way it is. So like babies, all babies, any baby, mammal, they drink mother's milk and you have a cheese problem. We all have a cheese problem. It's an addictive property that's in it so that the babies will want it. And that's scientifically proven. But without a deep dive, I just sound like a fanatic, you know? And so, what I'm saying though is that it's all related. Like it's all related to a lot of the mental health issues. When you look at anyone that has had a daycare, the way the USDA makes you offer milk, you have to offer milk at each meal. Whether or not the child drinks it is one thing, but you absolutely have to offer it. That's because of the power of the dairy industry, you know? And look, it makes us all feel warm inside. We know, like there are studies on this. There are several channels that I watch that always have like, you know, great content and all of that kind of stuff. But it's really like they give you the science in bite-sized pieces. It's not like you're listening to medical journals and talks, but it's one of those things where it's like, wow, this is one of the our foundational issues. This right here. And then of course you have all the other things, you know. Why are you looking back like that? Don't look at that baby like that. Look at him nicely. We see you.
Quita. Excuse
I'm
me
gonna
for a
stop.
second.
I'm gonna stop because I could go on for hours and hours and hours.
You actually
Like,
can go on for hours, but let me
and I
ask you
won't.
this question. No, no, I want to ask you this question though. You say all that, but as a patient, I have had to go and do as much research, if not more, than anyone else. So if I bring that information to my platform, right, and all I do is share the information, where do we go? Right? It's more if I can say to you, this is this, this is that. When I give Patrice 15 minutes to say what she needs to about Brother Polite and then go back to the mental health discussion in its entirety, it gives people the opportunity like you to come up and then be able to say all of those things, right? What I can't
Mhm.
do is hit on every topic. And personally, while I do know that yeah, food is the thing. I'm not versed enough in it at all in that regard.
Right,
Also, I'm not seen um, in that way. 2/3 of the people who watch me, um, I won't say that, maybe half, came here because of how I murdered a fat chick.
right.
Right, that one little thumbnail because it said something rude. Right, so I have to understand that and keep that in mind. But I can get you up here and you can say all of those things. So all the things that I needed to say, the platform, the information that I wanted to get out about mental health and whatnot, we pushed that out in the beginning. And then I open it up. And some of what Patrice will have to say or had to say about Brother Polite is urgent to our mental health because inside of the YouTube space, what we're seeing right now is a large number of these things happening. Um, and I don't want to address that. I want to address the mental health state that allowed it to happen, which is why I asked, are they defending him? Because we need to
No, I
get to
get
the
it.
root
Well, it's a
cause.
good question. That it's a good thing you asked that because I don't think that a man that has been accused of molesting a 14-year-old girl is a distraction. I actually think it is a problem that's very problematic within the Black community that that is now it's come to a head and it needs to be addressed, and he needs to be he needs to stand trial and, be charged to the fullest extent of the law if he is indeed guilty of this, which there are 6 different DNA tests that has his DNA is on this young lady's clothing. And when we are talking about children, I don't think that's a distraction. I think that's a reality, because I was just on a panel with women that are suffering from mental illness, from being triggered, from being formal, from having formerly being sexually abused. So these are real issues in our communities that definitely need to be addressed. So I had mentioned that I was on the panel, and you invited me to come up here. So that's the only reason why I came up here to talk about it and
No,
express it. So um, that's all I wanted to say, is how that part of it relates to the mental illness. Because when that guy got up on that panel and defending Polite, that triggered those women, that triggered them, that, along with, so all of it has to do with mental health, which was talked about as well, and how, being sexually abused causes mental illness in the communities, from the people that are now victims. So for me, as a community active, my thing was, okay, how can we, resolve it and have solutions? Well, we have to speak up, and we have to no longer coddle and kumbaya and defend the pedophilia that goes on in our community. So I don't think it's a distraction. I think it's a reality that a lot of the Black community now need to face, because this is in our face. It's all over the national news. So I don't want to take it as a distraction, because I myself am a survivor. So it means a lot to me. And I work with the suicide prevention, one of the suicide prevention organizations, where I volunteer my time, my money, and my service to the mental health, because I lost 3 people to suicide. So all of this ties into mental health. Believe me, it does. So
okay.
that's the only reason why that I came up here to say something about it, is because JP asked me to.
And
No,
now I want to
I
say
agree with
this.
you.
Give me just a second, Quita. I would like to say this. One of the things that we all, I think, have to keep in mind to some degree, excuse me, we each hit this platform from our own perspective and our own purpose. And sometimes in that passion or purpose, we are not cognizant of the words that we use that may come across differently to someone else, especially when it's their passion or purpose that we've used a term unexpectedly. And I believe that that may be the thing that has happened here. But having said all of that, all things are true. What we eat, what we ingest, what we consume, whether it be in the media on YouTube, whether it be what we buy in the store and put in our face, it all does in some way affect our mental health. It all does in some way start with our mental health. Eating comfort foods, as much as it's the dairy industry, it's also trash can waves his need to be loved on that makes him want to go and get those ribs and suck on his fingertips and whatnot. And knowing where to put food in our lives and how to use it is probably the most important thing that we can teach our children, our community, that will harness all of that, right? If we can teach them how to eat, what to eat, to be moderation. But certainly, maybe it is time to give up other animals' milk and in trash cans wave. You make sure you get a letter of consent before you start rubbing on people's mama. Go ahead, Quita.
What I wanted to say about that is like this was not saying like, Patrice, don't get on the panel and talk about these issues, because like you're saying, these are real. Like everything that we're all saying is valid. You had the insight on that particular story. But what I was adding is that just because we don't, a lot of people, I ain't gonna say we, but just because a lot of us don't know about the correlation between food and mental health, we think, oh no, I mean, I just like my cheese, I just like my ribs, I just like my whatever. And there's a story of a lady who, she went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, and this is a story that's on the Physicians Committee channel. They have a podcast show that comes on every day, 30 minutes, exam room live. So when you go there, it's called Physicians Committee. And the doctor, sometimes they open the doctor's mailbag where people ask questions. And so the doctor is on there, and she was talking about this lady who came in. She had whatever she had, and the doctor was recommending to her that she stop eating cheese. And the lady like really burst into tears, like, oh my goodness, you mean I have to give up my cheese? It was really an emotional thing. And the doctor was explaining like the mental connection with it. Like it really is an addiction, the same way sugar is a drug. Some people know that, some people don't. But we also, because a lot of us don't have the insight on it, the same way, Patrice, you know everything. People always got you on the panel as the expert because you're like, oh yeah, I know something about that, and I have something on that as well. But what I wanted to just add is that, like, yeah, food, it's underrated. Like the effects of it on our mental health, the effects of it on our physical health, it's underrated. It goes under the radar because it's just seen as something to chew and swallow and have fun with. You don't see commercials ever talking about food as a solution the way you see pills as a solution and procedures as a solution. And it's like, wow, you see a food commercial, you see a salad, the people are laughing. You see a pizza, the people are laughing. You see a Subway sandwich, the people are laughing. So it's like, oh, I guess food is funny. But it never talks about it nourishing you. They talk about, ooh, comfort as in a blanket or a teddy, but not from the perspective of it really is a solution. And there are solutions out here, and there's a lot of people that are aware of this information, and our community is not. And as a result, we're the ones that end up being the recipients of a lot of poor quality food and mentally affected as a result as well.
So, you mentioned food as a solution, and you and I and Patrice are at least of a certain age, so I'm sure we probably all have read it. Have you read How to Eat to Live
I
Uh,
heard
by
of.
Shahara?
I
Was
don't
it
know.
Shahrazad Ali or?
I've heard of all the I've watched a lot of documentaries, and I've read different things, and I can't remember, like, because I read a lot. I will go to like the medical journals. So like if I hear a
Mhm.
report, so I read those, but and of course they don't have titles, but specifically books, no, honestly, I haven't read a lot of books on.
Well, so for me, this was back in the 90s. Um, but there's a book called How to Eat to Live. And if you were ever a part of or attached to the Nation of Islam, or you saw them out there enough, you would have seen them selling the books at some point. But How to Eat to Live and How Not to Eat Pork were the two books that I very first started reading, excuse me, well before I got into the issues with my personal health and my weight, because How to Eat to Live pretty much tells you to get rid of all of the white processed things in your house and eat as many
Mhm.
colorful brown or things as possible. And I think that, Quita, that's probably the approach. It's why it works so well for the nation, and something that I think that our people need to go back to instead of trying to tell them to read all of the journals and all of the things, because they're just not. Let's just be honest. I know that realistically, the videos that I'm going to be able to get to move the most are the ones that are 25 minutes or less. So I know that they're
Yeah.
not going to go and read a whole medical journal. But that
Right.
book basically just says, you know, don't eat white processed things and eat as much brown, whole foods or colorful foods as possible. So I think simplifying the discussion, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with
Oh,
that either.
definitely.
Um,
Definitely, because I will just, go from simple to complex, like with Ellie JJ saying soy is a major ingredient. Again, a lot of those myths about what soy is and how it works on us, all of those things are repeatedly given on that particular channel. The doctors are always talking about soy. If you just Google the two words, soy and cancer, everybody just look it up for themselves. Don't believe me. Soy, cancer. Just put them together, cancer, soy. Google it and see what you find. And for the people that actually look it up, they will find that, oh, okay, this is what it is. It's not the headlines. It's not what I thought. And it is in a lot of foods. And is it the soy that's the problem, or is it the Roundup that's sprayed on it? Monsanto's is the company that, has the Roundup going there. So again, the way the Roundup has been tested on mice, it's showing that it's not just no, that's look it up. That's a rumor. So look it up. That's where I'm saying, like, if you actually look at tofu cancer, soy cancer, you'll find, several different things. But
Coffee cancer. Coffee three times, three fresh cups of coffee a day cure mild depression. It's just
yeah,
a
Yeah, but I will say that when you look up cancer and soy, you'll find that the estrogen are different estrogens that are in animal products, and it actually declines the cancer. It's not a cancer proponent. It actually can put the brakes on it. But just Google those two words, and all the results right there will tell you that. And definitely Google Roundup, because that's what they're spraying on our food. And then we don't realize, like, oh, that's why cancer is on the rise. We just hear like little snippets of information, and they will give us all these little sound bites and headlines. And it's us that has to piece it together. Because, like Patrice said, make no mistake, she's lost family members. We understand that, and we empathize with you or sympathize with you for those of us that haven't had that. And either way, we love our people, and we're like, wow, this is what's happening out here. So we address it in all of our ways, but we're all parts of the puzzle, and we're putting them together. And then my perspective is just that there's a huge chunk of this puzzle that is left out when we miss food. I'm not saying take a deep dive into it tonight. What I am saying is that that's a really huge one, and people don't have a place to go for the right information, because all the headlines say one thing or another. Like in school, they told us something about soy in nursing school. It's outdated. A lot of the information, any medical professional that you go to now, they pretty much are saying the headlines. Why? Because the dairy industry is giving them the information. They have the big bucks, or the meat industry, they have the information. They got the big bucks, so they feed it down. This is the reason why schools can get contracts with meat companies. I'm sorry, not meat companies, with pizza companies. This is why now you can get, Pizza Hut on a certain day at the school. It's about the dollars. It's not really about the concern for the people. So we do have to piece together our own solutions.
I agree. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get Miss B Finesse back up here. Uh-oh. You
Hello?
there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear
Okay.
me? Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna put
Yeah,
you on
okay.
mute for a second, and then I'm gonna let you come back
Okay.
on and say this before I forget. Okay. So I sent everybody, or I'm working on sending everyone up here an email about starting this Discord for the Struggle Stream family. So now that everybody's here, it's a great time. I'm gonna do it real quick for those of you who are in the chat. Just bear with me. I'm gonna what I would like for everybody to do is just go over, check it out, consider it, see if it works for you. But so that we could have this conversation, because Krita, what I would say is right now, if we were in the Discord, you and I could all come up with a, hey, we're going to have a discussion about food as a solution over the next week. Started with one smaller channel, and then have everybody push it out and continue to do the same topic, linking them back to each other, so that this community grows and gets the knowledge out as far as possible, and everybody eats at the same time. That's my goal with creating the behind the scenes channel, just some way for us to communicate, so that not everything about learning how to do this YouTube thing is out front and cutting into people's videos and ability to monetize their stream. Okay, Miss B Finesse or anybody, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
can't. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't even take trash can ways. I'm sorry. He's getting me so distracted in the chat. I'm not gonna look at the chat like the lead attorney said. He
Right.
talking about the food. Big Mama food didn't even look good, but the same food they ate killed them. I
Mm-hmm.
digress. Anyways, I do have to chime in. Well, one, I want to give props again to Patrice, because she did come to my live and she talked about her loss. So I wanted to just let her know I'm sorry for her loss, and I appreciate her opening up because she didn't have to do that. I also do want to concur with what Quita is saying, because it's very true. I know my son had like allergies, and when we stopped giving him eggs and milk, he literally, like, in a couple of weeks, he wasn't sneezing anymore. He didn't have to, take any allergy medicine. So, I mean, she's speaking facts. Now, going back to JP, you guys know how I do. I just try to break down what everybody's saying and bring us back as a whole. What JP is saying, Quita, I think you kind of missed it earlier. We were talking at the very beginning about the purpose, how she just said what she's creating in the background for everybody to have their say and to bring this to a broader community. We were talking about from earlier in my life, and I know you remember, Queen, because you were there, how I used Lil Wayne kind of as a Trojan horse, because I knew the younger generation would know him. And then when older people also were listening to my stream, it was kind of takeaways. So with all that being said, I do appreciate every level of it, because no matter how we say it, we have to be able to talk with each other, communicate, and disseminate the information. Just like you were saying, JP, as far as our topic at hand, we know even in the Discord, there are some people that came in at the very beginning we were talking. So we had a little community of people that were coming just for that conversation of mental illness. So it might have thrown them off a little bit if they were still, like, if it was earlier and we were talking about food and we were discussing mental illness. So I get kind of what you're saying, where it leads, but I also know exactly with, like I said, with the facts of what Queen is saying. Yes, we do kind of brush over the fact of how mental illness has a lot to do with the food we put in our mouth, and even just the food now is totally different because of the hormones that are in the food now. You could have ate these things back in the day because they were natural, but now they're not natural, so they're pumped with hormones. And so, like I said, I mean, I feel like just kind of what you were saying too, JP. Everybody's passion is different. We know that's Quita's passion. It's food and getting us healthy. We know Patrice's passion. We're all about community, but she's specifically for a demographic of people that she's experienced it. So I like all of it. To me, it all makes sense in its own way. It all really comes together. I think we just have to put it in perspective of exactly what we were talking about. And really everything everybody's saying is, if you were at the very beginning, it kind of snowballs into it. So I do want to just kind of bring that back.
I do agree with you, and thank you for saying that. But the one thing, even though the two that are kind of different but kind of coincide, because what we eat can contribute to a lot of our health issues. And the brother Polite, I just got a little confused, because I'm not gonna never say that what Keita and JP's or your subject is a distraction, to distract from what I was saying. So
no,
I would have always acknowledged that as being a part of it. So I just kind of got taken aback by Keita's statement with saying that the cheese and Polite was a distraction. I was like, wait, but they kind of like the same, but different scenarios.
Yeah, I apologize if that's the way it sounded, Patrice. I was not intending to be dismissive of you. I was talking about the whole conversation for us as a people, how just that we tend to focus on, hey guys, let's focus on the black issues, and not you, not JP, us as black people. And what I was saying is, dang, these are all distractions. So don't forget this one here. And that's a distraction too. Even the cheese is a distraction. So I apologize, because that's not at all what I meant. I did not mean to be dismissive or minimize anything that you said, because absolutely you had valid input and you were asked to come on and specifically answer and give insight into what you already knew. So no, that is not what I intended to say. I apologize.
Okay. All right. No problem. Apology accepted.
I just love it when the ladies work it out. Look at them grown-ups.
Girl, we grown over here.
No, because see, before you start clapping, what they can't see out there is I already put into the private chat that me and Patrice going into the boxing ring, and they didn't see.
But girl, it wasn't no boxing ring. It really wasn't. I just wanted to just have a clear understanding, because I will never dismiss nobody else's You know what I mean? Like you could tell me that made you feel some type of way. And I
Right.
know it may not have made me feel that type of way, but I'm never gonna dismiss your feelings. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I was like, wait a minute, let me get on the same page with Sissy and
Yeah.
let her know that. And then you said that's not what you meant, and it's all good. It's all
Right.
good.
Right. Well, no, the boxing ring was the fresh and fit thing. Remember with Abba and Preach,
Yeah.
they had said, we're gonna get into the boxing ring, but then fresh and
Oh.
fraud, that's what I was saying. Yeah, yeah.
That hot
So,
mess. We
but
ain't
yeah,
got
let's
into
not bring that up. Let's forget about them
no.
because like I mean, and I will say this, Patrice, what you're saying, what you were saying was definitely it's a major problem because it's the black on black crime that we keep doing to each other. And that is the messed up part about that whole, and even his name, Brother Polite. You know what I mean? It's like the same old thing over and over where we do that to each other. And so yeah,
Guys, can we? Oh, sorry, quit. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm done.
Can we kind of talk about where that perpetuates from? You guys know I try to just put a little history up if you didn't know.
Well,
Um,
what perpetuates from?
where this whole stigma of like males wanting to be with these younger women and trying to take advantage of them, that is something that's perpetuated with going back into slavery, how they kind of just crossbreeded a lot of families even together to where people thought,
That's just society. Like that's all a part of like the whole narrative of you have to look at it. If you are telling a story, you're Winston Churchill and you're saying our history will be great because I'm going to write it. And then you start to write your story. And as you write it, you write things like Christopher Columbus discovered something. And as you write it, you write something like Vikings are heroes. And as you write it some way to say, oh, we went over here and we saved people that were already there. As you write it, so I mean, it's really just a part of the narrative. It's the part of the lie that was given that and that we know because that's all we were reading in the books that they wrote. And so this is where we can change that. So rather than that's what I meant from the beginning in saying rather than saying uh, you know like he's saying we've been slaving since the Rome days, rather than go into that and always our narrative is always we always have to talk about black and slave in the same sentence. You don't hear other cultures talk about Chinese and slave in the same sentence. We don't have to do that. So that's where it's like instead of taking that deep dive into where did that come from, you can also look at recent history and fix it from now. You don't even have to go all the way back and lament, or you can. You definitely can, but I'm just saying it doesn't serve us
Yeah, I
as
think.
much as moving forward serves us.
Well, I didn't want to go back there in the sense of we can't keep blaming that right now for what's happening now because we got to have some accountability on Brother Polite's part, right? And
oh
and
yeah, oh
any
yeah.
and everybody and any and everybody that played a part. But originally, yes, we know who the original R word and pedals was. Yes,
Mhm.
that original they were the ones that did the R word to our women. They did the buck breaking to the men.
Violated.
So yeah, so I
Yeah, violation.
originally who were the originals of that? Yeah, they were. But now we have to say, okay, we can't blame that for
For
what
Brother
Brother
Polite.
Black has done because it's a problem within him. There's a spirit of something demonic and satanic and pedophilia and perverted within him that is
It's
causing
something
him to do
within.
that.
Now, this is
And
the one thing that
he
I
was
will
under the
say.
teachings. He was under the teachings of Dr. York. Hold on, and then I'm gonna let you speak. He was under the teaching of Dr. York again, which is the pedophile that's in jail now, doing 135 years for doing what he doing. So we have to think of it sort of like the R. Kellys of the world, where the victim became the victimizer. I think that it's a history of that in
Yeah,
our communities, and
exactly.
then the accountability that needs to be held for that, because we have to, again, like I said, stop sweeping it under the rugs in our family. Stop. You have women that coddle and protect men that they know are pedophiles, that they know have hurt their children or some child, and women say nothing. This is just the culture that we have been raised up in our families. It's like, what stays in this house, don't you tell nobody. What goes on in this house stays in this house. And then the children are hurting. So now you have a mother, because this woman was dating Polite for a year, and her 14-year-old daughter and her were at odds with each other. And so Polite goes, well, let me come get her and whatever, talk to her. So I guess at some point she felt that she could trust Polite. I don't know if she knew about his history or whatever. So he takes her 14-year-old daughter and takes her allegedly to a Miami club, which I don't know how a 14-year-old would get in there. And then I think the club was closed. So then he rents another room in the hotel where they were staying. And the mother don't know none of this is going on now. So he takes her into another room, and then he gets her drunk. He drugs her and put alcohol and drug her in whatever it was she was drinking, and proceeds to, SA her.
Violator.
And then when she comes to, he makes her throw up, sticking his finger down her, making her throw up, because he's trying to make her throw up whatever he put into her. And whatever he did to her when she went under, she passed out. And he gets her back to her mom, and she's like, what's going on? Because my baby's lips are swollen and they all damaged, and she's looking crazy. And he like, well, don't tell nobody, because this can mess up my career. That's what the mother said. But she immediately took her daughter to the police station, and the DNA test was done, and et cetera, and et cetera. So this was a case where the mother did not sweep it under the rug. The mother did not cover it up, even though she was dating this man. And I commend her for that, because like I said, a lot of mothers and a lot of women's and boyfriends of women, they don't do that. So what I'm saying. So that's what I know of it, and being on the panel trying to figure out ways to how do we stop this madness that goes on into the community.
Well, and again, what I was saying, one of those things, before I let Patrice continue, was that the problem in this situation to me is that it seems to be happening in the conscious community at the moment. Because when you're talking about Bambaataa and you're talking about Sonetta and you're talking about, this is the community that you're talking about. And so my question here is that we had this conversation earlier, I believe it was in Ms. B Finesse's stream, about religion and its role in mental health. And this is one of those things, this conscious movement, a lot of it is a, rather than religion, consciousness.
It's a scam.
Right? Well, rather than religion,
a lot of them are.
Rather than religion, consciousness. But there's still some of those same underlying things in the doctrine communities, right? So I guess our people seem to be falling for it no matter what. What is in there? What's the mental health thing in there that's not allowing us to see this for what it is?
Jay,
I think that's the point.
Can I elaborate? Because I got kicked out, and I think I got misinterpreted. Because when I started, I think sorry.
If it's about the situation, then no, because we've already, it's fine. No one up here is upset. Everything is okay. We're just trying to figure out how to move forward.
No, it's not about the situation. I was saying I didn't even finish what I was saying. So I think it just got triggered into something different. And for some reason I kept getting kicked out. So I guess it was looking like I was going off, but I wasn't. But I'm not concerned about
what were you saying.
I didn't even finish it. So like I think
I forgot what
that's fine. We can forget it because it went to something totally different. And I'm sitting here trying to like unmute myself. But
she was asking. She was asking.
You were asking about
talking. Can we unpack that? Like you were going into that, and then you got kicked out, and we started answering.
Yeah, y'all went ham on me. No, basically what I was saying, I was gonna come back to say it doesn't make an excuse for what he did, but even though we know that happened to us, a lot of people use that as an excuse. So Patrice, you kind of actually went in the area I was going to say. like you went all the way around kind of what I was going to get to. But I think the trigger word was when I said slavery, everybody just got like, yeah, I guess they went back or something. But yeah, I was going right to what you said, Patrice. So that's all I wanted
Oh,
to come
okay.
back and say. I was leading to what you said, but like I said, I like right when I said it, I got kicked out or you guys like start talking about it. So no. I'm liking the Discord and the conversation, but no, I when I say it, I just want perspective because a lot of people don't really understand the motive of why we do what we do. Not saying it's right, but you still have to have some type of understanding of a base of where it comes from, or you can say you want to change something, but it's not going to do it. And we talked about that earlier in the live, that the understanding of where you what happened before to lead to the future. So yeah, I just wanted to put that 2 cents in since we all apologizing. That's
Oh
not where I
yeah.
was
Oh
going.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not where I was
we're
going.
good.
But you led it back to what I was going to say, Patrice. So
Yeah. All right.
You know, uh, of course, like you're saying, we can't even get through anything because people in here talking about
Doggone trash can wave.
tear
It ain't
down.
people, it's trash can waves. Just call it what it is.
yeah, let's say what it is. It's trash can
He talk
waste.
about he talk
Please
about
don't put it up there because I don't want to bust up in the middle of somebody's conversation.
I
I have to
won't.
put myself on mute.
That's
right.
what I've been doing, Patrice. Put myself on mute because I keep reading what he's saying.
No home
What he
training. Go
said.
ahead, Cleta.
But wait a minute. I do have to acknowledge this comment though when he said, "So we got to tear all those pyramids down."
Oh Lord. No trash can. We built those, so no, that ain't happening.
No, that's right, and that's what makes it so funny because he said something like that. So anyway, and you know what? So there's another thing. So what I wanted to also add to because I went off on the foods, got so far away from your original question, JP. But what I do want to add is that you know a lot of us start watching more of our Africans on YouTube because they got YouTube channels. You know, they're in Namibia, they're in South Africa, they're in Tanzania. they
Yeah, I've been watching them since you said that, Laquita. I actually been watching them.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
know what, Patrice? So, like, I didn't realize, like, I was still one of those Black Americans. Before the pandemic, I could not consume but so much information. I had African friends that were here. I had African friends that were, Nigerian, Ghanaian, or whatever that were here, but it was still a disconnect because they were here. And so it's just like, oh, yeah, yeah. I guess y'all do have like absolutely everything that we have because
Mm-hmm.
y'all are in 2021, except for Ethiopia because they're on their own calendar because they was like we're not having it. But meanwhile, it's interesting. Like you really, so that's one of the things I wanted to add, Miss B Finesse, is that
Mhm.
rather than saying, let me go back to the slave ship, because that's the story that we've been given here, going
Mhm.
back to your people, we can access them right now. And when we do, we actually see ourselves and our true history and like,
Right.
oh, that's why we do that. Because I'm looking at her right now in this video. They're in Ethiopia right now, and this is what they're doing. They're at a nightclub. Oh, we love people. We always invite people to come up. That's the reason why we do that at parties. They still doing it there. They're
Mhm.
doing it because they still in the tradition original place they did it. That makes sense. It's so hard to believe the hype that has been given us in the books, and so that's part of the distraction that I was supposed to be saying, Patrice. And like I said, between the food and then trash can waves, let's just blame him. Because I it ain't gonna never be us women. So
It's
Oh,
gonna be
look
us
what
living in trash can waves.
right.
do us on
Oh
what?
Lord.
Listen, I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate you ladies being able to work it out. As this is an example of not everything has to be contentious, and more often than not, it just comes down to having a miscommunication moment. One person was passionate about something else, and that's it. It's a word, but you can get over it just that easily. And being able to share and show that is probably one of the best doses of mental health medicine that you can give. Just an example in real time of this is how you deal with situations. Not everything that you think is an attack on your person is that. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's just excuse me,
Miscommunication.
yeah, it's just,
That's it.
figuring out how to communicate in the right way. So I appreciate each and every one of you all, but it is 8:30. Ooh, some of y'all should be in the bed already. Ain't it like 11:30 hours midnight
Yeah,
around your way?
Yeah.
It's
I'm
And
only
then they,
eight
supporting
thirty
you.
here. I
I'm
mean, y'all.
supporting you, but I'm about to head out. I'm supporting
I
you.
know,
I
because we trying to see the baby. She keep hiding
I
the baby,
know.
which I
Can
would
we at
protect
least
her
just get
too.
one look at the baby?
No, don't show your baby on TV, girl. Don't
No,
do
no,
it.
No,
I'm
just
Let
show the
serious.
hair. That's her
Yeah,
hair.
she got gray hair.
I
She a
know.
cute little thing. How old is she now?
She is 8, 7 months, 8 months now.
Seven
I think
months.
about it.
You see
Oh,
Oh
those
my,
cheeks
so
though.
adorable. Look at that hair foot of hair.
I
Sorry
know.
about that. I got
Jealous.
kicked out because my phone rang, but I do want to say something about the food part of it.
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago, I went to the doctor and I was going to be, my husband and I at the time, because I was married, going
Mhm.
to be, we were both like borderline with high blood pressure.
Hmm.
And I took pork out of my diet 30 years ago. So I haven't eaten pork in over 30 years. And salt and white flour, white sugar. So you're right, JP, where you were going with that. And Keita, what you both were saying, that it was affecting it was affecting me and my body, and the breakdown of my body and things that I was experiencing. So you're absolutely right. All of those things do play a part as well in your mental health and your body.
They do. You know what? It's all related, and I think it's definitely worth being a part of every conversation, so that we bring it in, and yeah, it's definitely, what, too, Ellie, JJ, they were talking about we don't own our own currency, and actually the Lumi is a cryptocurrency that they have in Africa. The Lumi, based on the sun, because they get the most sun. So if you look up LUMI, like luminescence, and or if you look up Lumi in crypto, you'll find a whole bunch of YouTube videos on that too. And it's like, wait a minute. So we do own our own currency. And you know what? They're doing too much in there. No mud
Right.
wrestling.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna need y'all to stop picking your teams out there. Chill out. Chill out. Lord.
Right, right. They're gonna
Besides,
make
y'all
it
should
happen.
y'all should have dibs on the crazy one. I get to swing and can't nobody say nothing.
Right, right. So
It's
so so yeah,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add that in there as well, because when you talk about like the Pan-African space, I was like, let me just jump in and meet more people this way, since I had a lot more time to do so. And yep, I got people on WhatsApp that I can contact. They can contact me, and we do so. We call on the phone sometimes, or we just chat. And it's like, wow, today's time, with today's technology, we can be face to face on the screen with people all around the world. And I definitely say we should look at our folks more, look at everybody really, but face to face, definitely engage with our folks more. And and I think that's also a part of our healing, and it'll help us get into a better mental space to realize too that a lot of the things that happen to us, the exact same things at the same time were happening to people on the continent. We know about apartheid, but there's a Namibian content creator, Sylvie Sidge. She just did a video talking about all the different years that the laws were passed. And it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, that sounds like the same time as Jim Crow being enforced, and then the back of the bus, and then this. Same exact things were happening to them. And so, our pain is not just ours. And that does help when you can resonate with somebody else around the
Oh
world.
God, Keita, I just watched, out of all the years it's been out, I just watched the Edie Amin story. Like, I just watched that like 2 nights
I,
ago.
I still haven't seen it. So thank you for telling me, so I can look it up. I can make sure I get it in too.
Ooh, look, we can all stream it together from my Twitch channel. Y'all just tell me when to set it up.
Cool.
I'm feeling all fancy these days. I can learn all these new apps and
I
whatnot.
thought that he died in Africa or they killed him. He went in exile
Mhm.
over somewhere, I forget, some overseas somewhere, and he just died over there naturally. Like, they never caught this guy out of all
Yeah.
the atrocities he did over in Africa, and then people like, that was so deep for me. So yeah, that's a good one, y'all. The Idi Amin story.
Okay.
Wow. Thank
So
you.
I want to say, what did he say? I subscribe to Darius down here acting a mess. All y'all, when I'm gonna find the time to watch all of you ladies. You know what, Darius? I'll do this for you every Wednesday. I will get right here, and we'll all just get right here and talk about it. But then you have to go to each person's individual channel and then watch a stream in double time.
Well, if you just put it on all notifications, we'll just pop up. And if you can see us, you
Anytime.
see us. And if you
Exactly.
can't, yeah, don't worry about it because it's hard to go back and see stuff because every day everybody's putting out so much. So,
Hmm.
yep, just catch it when you can, and boom, that is it.
But so I am not going to take up any more of you all's time. Miss B Finesse, thank you for a great topic. I truly
My
appreciate you
bad.
coming in and asking me questions. Y'all make sure you
This is
shout out her
awesome.
channel, check her out. Miss B Finesse, if you put it into the private chat, which is the one, two, three, fourth button down,
Hold
then
on.
I will go ahead and make sure that it gets to the main chat. Miss Patrice, you know you got the best voice on the internet. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up, girl. I appreciate all of your wisdom and your knowledge, and that you and Quita were able to work it out. Thank you so much. I just y'all make me feel so wonderful. I like that my stream got all the ladies up here, and we're not talking about Black girl power. We're talking about community power, and that's the most important thing. And then of
Yep.
course I had to save Quita, Miss Blind Guy, his wife, their life for last because you all have shouted me out from day one. You guys have made me feel like I can do this no matter what. Y'all hold the team together. We all look up to the struggle stream Godfather in our own way, but your family, y'all are a shining example of what we can be, what I hope to help Darius find when I de-thought him in trash can waves. And
I'm sorry. Receive that. The read the chats. Read the chats.
that's what I'm saying. I'm reading the chats. When I de-thoughtify those two young men, and then I bring Adrian over from the dark side of alpha female, we will have a community of smiling, loving Black families. I'm just saying. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being with me this evening. I'm gonna drop these into the chat.
JP, is that
It-
one right? I don't even, guys. I'm so green at this. Did I send you the right link, JP? I don't even know.
to your
Is
YouTube,
that,
yes.
I don't
That's
even,
the
and I'm
right
shocked that
one.
you guys put that in your chats. I don't even know how to get to it. That's how green I
That's
am to
your
YouTube.
private chat. You don't know? Oh, yours is
No,
different,
no,
I think.
no. You said put my channel in there, but I just copied it from the page, my about page. Is that right?
Yes.
It's right. I
Oh, okay.
clicked it. I
Hey,
tried it.
Quita, how
Okay.
do y'all do that?
So
When I see it, when you guys put it up, I can see my name in it. How do you
hold
guys do
on.
that?
Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna do something else and then you just stay right there. And Quita, you know, stay put and then I'll take and y'all can do that. Thank you guys so much for everything. Again, like I said, you guys are more than subscribers or followers. You all are citizens, and without you all I would not be able to do what it is that I do. So thank you so much once again. Shout out to Trash Can Waves and Darius Ritchie for supporting the stream last time. And then just remember, you guys, at the end of the day, you never know what it is that anybody else is going through, but what you can do is meet them in the street with compassion and appreciation. Let them know that you're here, you've got an ear for just a minute or two, and that is all that truly matters. So, again, leave your theme songs in the comments below this and keep your spirit up. I appreciate each and every one of you, and you guys have a blessed one.